Hey everyone, welcome to this special edition of Sensei Chat. I have FARINA here, who is an XRP and other crypto expert in the space. I've actually followed a lot of his content through the years. We've stayed in touch, and it was just, let's bring him on and talk about it and hear what he has to say. So, Edo, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, people that might not know you, maybe a little bit about like who you are, your background, and what brought you to XRP and crypto, man?
Well, first, a pleasure to be on your show. I'm very happy that we finally managed to collaborate together after so many years of following each other on, especially on Twitter, where it's my main platform. I started on X. I know most people started on YouTube and then they went to X. Well, I did the opposite. So I started on X, and right now I'm starting to give more attention to YouTube. So my background, I studied law. I
Wow.
ended up in Portugal a long time ago, and now I am living in Greece. I'm originally from Italy. That's a funny part of the history. But I am head of social adoption for two big projects on XRP Ledger. One is the XRP Healthcare, and the other one is Monerex. I have a very vocal voice in the community. I mean, if you invest on XRP, probably you know about me. So that being said,
All right. No, man, that's great. How long have you been making content, right? Because I think you probably were here maybe before me. So how long you been in the game, and like what made you switch from studying law to crypto?
well, I started back in 2019. That's when everything began. It was actually when I don't know if I can even say that word, but what happened back in 2019, the C9 thing. So I started with that, and then I started to talk. I got my social media accounts banned back in the time. I was big on Facebook. That's ironic. And then I just started making content about XRP back in 2020, and basically I came to YouTube around 1.5 years ago. It was not that long that I started my YouTube journey, but mostly I have been active on X.
I just want to pull up your channels to show people too, if people are interested in learning from you here on YouTube. Let me just pull this up and show people, and then we're going to get into some juicy content about XRP, because I know that's what a lot of people are waiting for. So just want to show, this is your account, right? The Alpha Lions Academy, 38,000 followers on YouTube.
Yeah, that's it. That's my YouTube channel. I
Perfect.
have the X account, and unfortunately today my TikTok account was banned. I was talking about that
Yeah.
on X. That's a long story. I hope the support will sort it out. So be very careful with scammers out there, since my profile is no longer around. But there are hundreds of fake accounts of mine that are still up and running.
Well, it's good to let people know to be careful, because even people in like my community get like messages and like text messages claiming to be me, and that's led to a lot of people unfortunately believing in those scammers. And so just always got to protect yourself. Never believe anything that you're getting DM'd. Always verify, right? But let's do this. There's a big day today. We had the EVM sidechain launch. Was it yesterday? A lot of announcements today. What are you feeling, man? Like, what do you think is going to happen here with the EVM sidechain? Is it going to bring more developers, more projects, more use cases for XRP? What are your feelings?
I am sure that's exactly what's going to happen. That's going to put XRP on the spotlight. We all know that the future is not only one chain. As much as I love the XRP ledger, I totally understand that we're going to have a multitude of chains. So the future is interoperability. And I think the chains that don't work on that feature are going to be left behind. So we definitely need interoperability. We know that natively the XRP ledger doesn't support smart contracts. The main reason is that that would affect the transaction speed. And as David Schwartz said a couple of days ago, there is a huge chance that we're going to see more and more chains becoming interoperable in the future. So I think we're going to have perhaps not 100 blockchains around, but I am pretty sure we're going to have perhaps 9 or 10 main blockchains that are going to be all able to communicate with each other. If you have a blockchain that can communicate with each other, that becomes an isolated database, which basically has no use case for the future. So I am very excited about sidechains. I'm also excited about federated sidechains, that in the future, that's going to be a way to scale up the transactions per second on the XRP ledger. And that can be the ultimate way where XRP is going to be able to absorb a huge percentage, for example, of Swift's volume. We all know that by just doing 1,500 transactions per second, as the XRP ledger is capable nowadays, that's not going to be enough. So one of the main reasons we need interoperability is exactly to expand the use case and bring more liquidity on chain. And that's, as a consequence, that's also going to bring tons of new developers, projects, and ultimately that's going to benefit everyone that is an investor on this chain, which is the XRP ledger.
Yeah, man, it's exciting to see all the development because I mean, for years we didn't really have any development. You know, people were scared to build on the XRP ledger because they didn't know if Ripple was going to make it through the court case. And just, you know, like, how does this moment feel, man? Because like I've been like a little bit, you know, lighter on my feet, smiling a little bit more. I feel like the gray clouds are finally dissipating, you know, disappearing, and you know, we're headed towards, you know, what this really should be or could be. You know, we could have had this a few years ago, obviously, but you know, what does the next 6 months in your head look like for XRP? You have ETFs coming, you have regulation for stablecoins coming in the US, maybe even crypto regulation. You know, where does this all take us?
I'm definitely excited. I like to quote Brett Garlinghouse. I think we are entering a new chapter, right? I think we have seen this since the beginning of the SEC lawsuit. I had the feeling that everything was moving in slow motion, also because of the regulatory uncertainty. So as you mentioned, perhaps we had developers who were thinking twice before getting on the XRP ledger. Another thing is that to nowadays, most of the DeFi was sitting on other chains. Most of the DeFi was sitting on Ethereum, was sitting even on Solana. We can go beyond DeFi. We can talk even about meme coins. Meme coins are also an important part of the ecosystem, and all the meme coins were on Solana. It's just more recently we had a meme coin season on the XRP ledger, which of course brings tons of new users. I'm not very excited about the meme coins, but we have to recognize that brings tons of liquidity, new trust lines, more liquidity, more people joining the ecosystem. So I have a feeling that from now onwards, also considering we have a native stablecoin on chain, it's real stablecoin, RLUSD. I totally believe that the XRP ledger is ready to absorb a huge portion of the DeFi that was sitting on ERC20 ecosystem. I think Ethereum, as much as, yes, there's interoperability, I think the technical capabilities of the XRP ledger are going to end up absorbing, I mean, the native token XRP is going to end up absorbing a lot of this liquidity that's going to come from the Ethereum ecosystem. And that's also going to bring a lot of developers.
Yeah, man, more liquidity, more developers, more XRP being used, I mean, or locked up. This is going to obviously take circulating supply down and the price up. And it's exactly what we're looking for. You know, where do you think, like, how much liquidity do we need, right? For Ripple to step in and handle, you know, a large portion of Swift's volume, like 10%, or they said 14% in the next 5 years. You know, have you researched that? Do you have any idea kind of what point we would need to get to? Do we need to be at 500 billion, a trillion in market cap to handle that? Or can we handle it with what we have now?
I think what we have now is definitely not enough yet. I think that's going to increase in geometric progression in the next years to come. There is a new video, and I put that one out from David Schwartz himself. So on XRP, on the XRP Apex in Singapore, a friend of mine, his name is Nathan, I give credits to him. He was the one that asked the question to Brett Garlinghouse, where he came out with the 14% answer. And funny enough, they also asked the same question to David Schwartz, but I don't think they both communicated with each other. So I think David was not aware of Brett Garlinghouse's previous answer, the 14%. So he was more cautious about giving a prediction. And by the way, if you notice, there is also this change of attitude from Brett Garlinghouse. Ripple executives were much more careful when the SEC lawsuit was still ongoing. I mean, when we didn't have regulatory clarity for XRP. And now there's this change of atmosphere, especially from Brett Garlinghouse. He's like bullish posting on X, which is very funny. He's giving concrete answers. He was always very cautious always measuring his words, and right now it's completely different. And David Schwartz was asked how much of Swift volume XRP would capture in the next 5 years. Now, he didn't give a concrete answer, just like Brett Garlinghouse, but he came out with another statement, and he said that we would see on chain hundreds of billions of dollars in tokenized assets on the XRP ledger. And I think the answer is right there. I mean, who am I to contradict David Schwartz himself, you know?
Dude, you know what was interesting about that comment? What, like, where did the 14% come from, right? Because usually if you're just kind of like saying something off the hip, you're going to say 10% or 15% or 20, like you're going to, you know, round it up to the 5. Saying 14%, which means like he actively knows this, like he, like something has happened in the background where like Ripple executives or the team or Brad himself were, you know, investigating this, and that, like, it's just a random number. 14 for me says like, hey, there was some thought and planning involved in this number. So it'll be really interesting to see if in fact they can get that 14% or more over the next few years.
Yeah, that's definitely a very specific number.
Yeah.
And if you consider Swift does, I guess it's $1.2 quadrillion per year in cross-border payments globally.
Yeah.
So that makes us wonder if XRP captures just a fraction of that. I would argue that in the past I made videos saying if XRP captures 10% of Swift, and I did the math on the whiteboard, and I remember it came out some number that was above, I think, $100. So consider 14%. I mean, that's just insane numbers that Brad Garlinghouse is just giving us. They are giving us the secret sauce right now.
Dude, you got to listen to everything they say because there's like hidden hints in there. Also, guys, just wanted to say we have about 600 people watching. If you're on X, please share the stream. I'd love to get in front of more people and help educate them. We have Edo here. You know, his time is limited, and I want to take advantage of
Just a
that.
question: are you live streaming on X so I can repost it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so
We're YouTube and X at the same time.
Oh, I'm gonna give a repost here, man.
There you go, man. I appreciate that. While you're reposting that, you know, I'd love to better understand, you know, your thoughts on stable coins specifically. Yes, we know the Genius Act is, you know, has passed the Senate in the United States. It goes to the House. The House actually, you know, might make some changes to it because the House had their own bill, which was the Stable Act. And so, you know, you had these competing, you know, stablecoin bills. And so once we get regulation for stablecoins in the US, do you see, you know, banks like Bank of America, right, specifically jumping in maybe with their own stablecoin built on the XRP ledger? Or, you know, obviously we start to see different banks around the world starting to implement like a Europe stablecoin in Europe. You had the Brazilian, I think it's the Brasa stablecoin in Brazil, Brasa Bank. You know, where does that take us in America?
Well, you mentioned Brazil. That's interesting. Back in 2020 or 2021, Brad Garlinghouse indeed met with the Brazilian president of the Brazilian Central Bank, Campos Neto, and just a few months later, they were talking about blockchain adoption in Brazil. So I think that's related. Now, what I think about stablecoins is that in Europe, we are more advanced in terms of regulation. I talk about the MiCA regulation, also in terms of taxation. I think it's very clear. Digital assets are more, I mean, the regulatory framework for digital assets in Europe is far more advanced than the United States, but I don't think the United States is going to be left behind. So it's just a matter of America catching up with the rest of the world, and that also includes the Middle East. You have Dubai, which is very advanced. I mean, the United Emirates is also very advanced in terms of stable coins. Also, Singapore has some interesting developments that are tied to Ripple. So what I see in the future is that first, we're going to see a huge migration of capital from stablecoins that are not compliant with regulation. And the biggest loser
Tether
of the biggest loser is Tether from the Genius Act. They are not compliant. Just I did a video, sorry, I did a live streaming yesterday. No, sorry, I'm confused because here is already Wednesday, but
you're all good
because after midnight. But yeah, just yesterday I did a live streaming and with Versa from the Black Swan Capitalist, and we unveiled an article from the Bank of International Settlements, and they were just issuing serious warns about possible catastrophic events involving stablecoins, they openly mentioned Tether, and they highlighted the fact that this specific stablecoin, USDT, is not backed one-to-one to the US dollar, is not backed by gold. I also love how they mention gold on that article. So as the Bank of International Settlement coming with this warning, and I am 100% convinced that we're gonna have a migration of capital from this entire ERC20 ecosystem that is also propped up by Tether, artificially synthetic liquidity. And I am sure that liquidity is going to flow towards the XRP ledger, real stablecoin. And I'm not saying XRP is going to be the only winner. I think we're going to have other blockchains that's perhaps are going to be Stellar blockchain, Algorand blockchain, Hedera's blockchain. I mean, all the blockchains that are working, all the companies that are working closely to regulators. Meanwhile, you have Tether that has been literally kicked out of Europe. I think it's going to go in the same way in the United States. I don't think Tether is going to, I don't even think it's based there anymore. They moved the headquarters towards, you might remind me now, I forgot the country, El Salvador, no? Where did they move? Yeah.
I think so. I could check that. Why don't you keep talking?
Yeah, it's definitely El Salvador, where they have a much more easygoing regulatory framework for stablecoins. I also remind everyone that they have been fined by the CTFC $40 million because they lied about their reserves, so they don't have one-to-one reserves to the US dollar. So that's very shady operations right there. And I think we're going to have this new class of stablecoins that are compliant, that work closely with regulators, that are backed one-to-one to the US dollar, or perhaps even a basket of currencies, or even precious metals. Why not? I don't think precious metals are going to be left out of the equation.
Here you go. Tether has officially moved its headquarters to El Salvador in January 2025. So you're absolutely right about that, man. You hit that right on the head. The interesting part about Tether is I've made several videos on this. The CEO coming out and said that we're going to be spending billions of dollars on Bitcoin mining, but you're not spending, $5 million on an audit. So it's really confusing, right? If you say that you can comply, and if you say that there's nothing wrong, what is stopping you from actually producing a real audit proving those things? And at this point, I would like it if Tether wasn't in the United States. That would give Ripple and, of course, Circle the upper hand here in America and any other, good technology. And, it would kind of keep away the people that have been operating offshores this whole time. So I really believe in the US, we got to support the American infrastructure. Cause I mean, what country you're from? Italy, but where do you live now?
I live in Greece. Yeah.
So, I'd imagine, in Italy or Greece, where you're from, you'd want to see your government doing similar things to make sure that those companies in your country survive. No, it's really good to talk about that. It'll be interesting. Just to give some context here, the stable coins that have been mentioned on Ripple, we got Circle integration, right, for the XRP ledger. That happened, I think, a few weeks ago. You have RLUSD, you have EUROP, Europe stablecoin by Schumann Financial. You have the XSGD Singapore dollar from StraitsX, and then you have the USDB from Braza Group. So lots of interesting new tokens, maybe stablecoins being created on the XRP ledger. That'll bring more volume, of course. Let's move to tokenization of real world assets. We see numbers varying from 5 trillion by 2030 to 60 trillion by 2030. Like, where do you really think we are going to be by 2030? This is about 4.5 years from now. How much of the real world asset market will you think will find its way onto blockchain?
You mean by 2000?
By 2030, 5 years from now, 4.5 years.
5 years from now.
Yeah.
Well, considering things are moving very fast, it's hard to come with a percentage, but I truly believe we're gonna see mostly every single asset is gonna be tokenized on chain, and they are working silently on that. Well, I travel a lot. I go to crypto events across multiple countries, and I remember last year I was just in the Paris blockchain week, and I was seeing every sort of tokenization of insane things that you would never imagine it could be tokenized. They were tokenizing water. They were tokenizing solar panels. energy, tokenizing energy. And I think the most relevant piece of tokenization is going to be definitely real estate. I think every single piece of real estate is going to be tokenized. And of course, you have benefits from tokenization. You also have some risks from tokenized assets. But most importantly, we need to understand which blockchain can be home for tokenization of real world assets. And do you think they can tokenize anything on Bitcoin?
Exactly. And how expensive would that be?
How expensive would that be, or how expensive would Bitcoin? Just let's make another scenario. It's even impossible for BTC to become a world reserve currency, as many content creators are pushing this agenda, because if every single person on earth would to use Bitcoin blockchain for transactions, they could only perform 3 transactions in their lifetime. So instead of giving you a number, let's say 10% or 20% or 80% of the assets on the planet going to be on the blockchain, I prefer to ask the question, which blockchain better serves this purpose? So we can just start eliminating the ones that simply don't fit. One of them is BTC. And then we are left with a few choices. I remember a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, I did a video. I uncovered a document. It was Salotti dei Pagamenti. It's called. It's a presentation that was made in Italian, that was made for bankers. And well, the ones that follow my work, especially on X a couple of years ago, I was obsessed on finding documents. So I was finding everything I could find, from tokenization to cross-border payments to integration of the XRP ledger. And on this presentation, and that was not designed for the public, it was very difficult to get access to the PDF of the presentation. They had this presentation and the prediction of the bank. So imagine this is a presentation designed for the Banca d'Italia, the Central Bank of Italy, and a handful of the most important financial institutions in Italy. So that was not meant for the public eye. But what they were giving on that presentation is that they expected 6 main blockchain DLT platforms that would take over the financial system. And the first one they had there was the XRP ledger. So that started to give me the biggest insights I could possibly have from bankers themselves, telling us that the XRP ledger was the main platform that was set to absorb not only the cross-border payments, but also the tokenization of real-world assets. So we're going to have a handful of blockchains. Their prediction was 6 blockchains would thrive, and they gave this prediction to 2025. That was a document from 2022, probably.
Dude, did you make a video on that? Like, did you uncover that and post it?
Yes, I still have it. I can find it if you want to share here now, or
yeah,
if you want to make a video about it.
Yeah, we can do both. I mean, if you find it really quickly, you can send it to me on X. I'll bring it up on the screen, and you can kind of show us what the fine points are, if you're able to.
Give me a second here. I have to find it on my X, or maybe I put that on YouTube as well. So I will need 1 or 2 minutes. And meanwhile, you can go through something.
Absolutely. So like, yeah, when we're talking about the tokenization of real world assets, what, it's very difficult to figure out like how much money is actually coming. But, what is interesting is like, once they start doing it, like, are they going to, have like 1% or 2% of the market tokenized? And then, like, at what point do you just say, F it, it's all going on chain? You know what I mean? Because you can't have like 5% of the market on chain and 95% of it off, right? Because you can't have this 24/7, 365 trading unless it's, on some type of blockchain or infrastructure that's going to support that. So, I always start to think, once they get going on this, really, what will the effect be? So I'm really looking forward to that. Do you have any comment on like the DTCC patent stuff? It's like Bitcoin, Ethereum, HBAR, XLM, Flow, BNB, XRP, and I think it was Tron were like the 7 or 8 assets that were listed on the DTCC patent.
That came out today, you mean?
No. This was like this was maybe last month or the month before. There was just like there was a hold on, DTCC patent.
I think let's see if I found this. Because sorry, man, I lost the plot here because I'm trying to find this.
You're good, man. You're good.
Yeah, I'm trying to find this video here.
Take
Anyways, wow.
your time. Take your time, man. You're good. If you can find it, great. If you can't find it, no worries, man. I can, if you send it to me later, I can make a video about it or tell people about it. And of course, you know, give you the credit for finding the document. Absolutely. That'd be really cool just to see that.
Yeah,
better.
that would be a cool video. That would be a cool video. I'll leave to you later because it was 2 years ago. So it will take me some time to find it. I was scrolling through my YouTube channel. Unfortunately, I couldn't find it, but I'm going to DM you.
I appreciate you, man. You're good. You're good. Let's do this. Let's move subjects here. You know, wait, is there anything you're important to you, like something that you really want to talk about, you know, a topic or something about the XRP ledger or crypto in general, like other assets you're buying? I mean, let me know. I can kind of switch off from, you know, we're talking about institutional grade custody and things like that to some other topics if you have some ideas.
I might have some questions to you as well. So what do you think is going to be the future for BTC? Do you think it's going to still be around as a store of value, or do you think we might have some black swan scenario or something like that?
You're always going to have black swan scenarios. Like there, you know, there's people realize that we are not in control, right? Nobody really is in control. And like, you know, you never know when someone's going to commit fraud or there's a bad actor or technology is going to fail. It's just part of being in the crypto business. And that's why, you know, a lot of people put money in the top 10 or the top 15 because they don't want to worry about those risks. And obviously when you go down to like, you know, 10,000 token or 20,000 token, that comes with extreme risk, right? That might not make it, might not fail. So, you know, it's kind of difficult to kind of comprehend where all this is going. But, you know, XRP is something that I find is going to have incredible use cases in the future. What was your question again, man? I'm sorry. My mind went sideways there and I lost it. What was it?
No, I was asking if you think BTC is gonna still be around. Yeah, or
sorry, my ADHD.
No, it's fine, man.
So
sometimes I lose the plot too.
Yeah, so I was going for like black swan events. It can affect the market, and so, anyways, the only thing I think that can stop Bitcoin now is like a 51% attack, like where somebody takes over 50% of the mining, and then they can control transactions. Like that would be a big deal. You know, the other thing would be is if people found out like who actually built Bitcoin, right? Like who was it, a 3-letter agency? Like that would, I think that would erode all trust in Bitcoin, because now you have, you know, the whole thing with Bitcoin is F the government. We're going to go create our own currency, you know, F money printing, this and that, libertarian view. And then if you find out like some 3-letter agency created it, I think that would become a shit show.
You know something interesting? Tether aims to become the world's largest Bitcoin mining company by the end of this year.
Yeah. That's interesting, right? That's interesting.
But by the way, just sorry to interrupt you. Have you ever seen what is written on Tether white paper?
I have not looked at it, man.
Let's do it live, man. Let's do it live. Can you put it on the screen?
Yeah, you here. So Tether.
I'm gonna blow your mind now, and everyone that is watching it.
All right.
I think I'm gonna blow everyone's minds.
All right, let's get this. Let's get this. All right, so
it's very easy. So yeah, you gotta pull the white paper. It's very easy to. It's a PDF. Yeah,
right here.
Original white paper. That's
gotcha.
Beautiful.
All right, what page am I going to?
Now do a Control F. I don't know if you are using MacBook. Then it's Command F, right?
Find, right? You want me to find something?
Yeah. So then you can just search for the word abscond.
Hold on. Find and edit. Find.
Yeah,
gotcha. Yep. What is it called?
Control F. So let me open so I can guide you better. Just give me a second. That's a PDF. This is just mind blowing. Okay.
I can send it to you in the chat as well if you need it.
No, I have opened it already. Let me just find it here. Okay, so let's find it. Okay, perfect. It's page 10. And now go to implementation weaknesses.
All right, here you go.
Okay, and now you can go ahead and read that paragraph for us. I mean, it's better you read. It's not my main language. It's not
I
my
got
mother
you.
language.
I
Yeah.
got you. So, guys, we are looking at the Tether white paper here. If you're just now joining us, make sure that you're liking the stream, you're sharing the stream. There's about 1,500 people here. I bet you we can get past 2,000 with a little bit of help. So I really appreciate you. Thank you for watching. And we will take a few questions from the audience here in just a few. So the Tether white paper says, we understand that our implementation doesn't immediately create a fully trustless cryptocurrency system, mainly because users must trust Tether Limited and our corresponding legacy banking institution to be the custodian of the reserve assets. However, almost all exchanges and wallets, it says assuming they hold USD fiat, are subject to the same weaknesses. Users of these services are already subject to these risks. Here's a summary of the weakness in our approach. We could go bankrupt. Our bank could go insolvent. Our bank could freeze or confiscate the funds. We could abscond with the reserve funds. Oh shit.
You know, when I first saw this, well, I am not a native English speaker, so the first words that I went to look for the definition is abscond. Yes, bingo.
To hide, withdraw, or to be concealed. I cannot believe that is in the white paper. That there is no way, dude.
They are telling you in what can come next. I mean, they are not even hiding it. I promise you, when I looked at the definition, that was shocking for me. Yeah. And if you don't believe, I mean, there's a lot of people saying, what's going on? Just go and look the PDF yourself. It's just go to page 10, you're going to find it.
Dude, that is so crazy. And then it says, of course, our bank could freeze or confiscate the funds. I mean, man, this is why I don't hold any money in Tether. I just don't feel it is trustworthy. And they had 11 years. Tether's been around since 2014. They've had 11 years to show, that they have the value here, and they just not a priority. So, take that with what you will.
Yeah, I think was relevant to share that one.
Dude, that was pretty cool, man. Appreciate you sharing that. Let me see here. You said that you are kind of I don't know, the lead. What did you say that you are an influencer for XRP healthcare? Did you want to talk
head
about
of
that?
social adoption for XRP Healthcare and for Monerex, which is a Web3 bank that is based in Mexico. And they are working on getting a license. I can't say too much,
Yeah,
but
of
they are
course.
working to get a license with the regulatory equivalent of the SEC, the CBNV in Mexico. So that's a very interesting development for the native token MXI as well. We were with the founder on XRP Las Vegas. You were not there, by the way. You should have come.
Dude, anytime you have an event, let me know. I will try to be there. I do live out in the Pacific Ocean in the middle of nowhere, so it does take me
Where
like
do you live, by the way?
I live in Hawaii. I live in
Oh, you
Hawaii.
live in Hawaii. Oh
Yeah,
man, you know the founder of Monerex has lived, I think, 4 or 5 years in Hawaii. Hawaii, I don't know. Yeah,
it's
that's very nice.
it's beautiful. The weather's always nice, and the food is always good and fresh. So those are like the three things that I need to survive. Since I
That's
don't really
amazing.
go out the house too
That's
much.
amazing. That's why it's so much difference on the time zones. I mean, for
Yeah.
me right now, it's 2 in the morning. I say I'm gonna have to stay up until late today, but that's no problem at all. I'm very happy.
Listen,
Be
next time
able
you want to come on, we can go on a little earlier, so it won't be too late for you. I did
what
want to
time is
ask,
that for you now?
what's up?
What time is that for you now?
Right now it's 1:06 p.m. in the afternoon. So
Oh,
right,
no,
it's like
no,
middle of
that's
the
fine.
day for me.
That's fine. We can also answer if people have
Yeah,
questions.
I was
We
gonna
can
do that. Let's do that. So guys, we're gonna take questions from the audience right now. If you got a question for Edo, for me, please put it up and we will address that. I did want to say, Edo, right now, what else besides XRP are you most bullish on? Obviously, you mentioned XRP healthcare and is it Monerex?
Yeah, so XRPH is
Yep.
the native token for XRP Healthcare,
Hmm.
which they have very interesting real world developments. I always like to collaborate with companies that are building something tangible on the real world, something that benefits the community. And that's the case for both XRP Healthcare, and Monerex. By the way, this is just for the sake of curiosity, but in Mexico, more than 50% of the population is still unbanked. So they even don't have a bank account. So
Wow.
they use ATMs to pay for Netflix subscriptions or any sort of online billing that they have to. But 98% of the population has a mobile phone and access to the internet. So do you see the gap there and how blockchain technology can revolutionize the payments in Mexico? That's one of the reasons why they decided to build this company in Mexico. And now that also brings me to the fact that the XRP Ledger is here to serve the people. The XRP Ledger is not only for financial institutions, it was mainly designed for financial institutions, that's the case. But by the end of the day, the XRP Ledger can also support retail investors. Now, you ask me what other projects I am currently bullish on. I totally believe one of the most undervalued assets in the entire crypto space is called XLM.
Okay.
So XLM is trading at 23 cents.
Stellar. Absolutely.
Stellar is absolutely insane that you can get Stellar for 23 cents. That's absolutely undervalued. The reason why they came out with Stellar, that's my understanding. Jed McCaleb left from Ripple. So the three founders of the XRP Ledger, one is Arthur Brito, David Schwartz, and Jed McCaleb. Jed leaves Ripple, and there's this whole theory that they had a fight, Tacos wallet and all that noise. But from my understanding, the reason why they have created Stellar is because they needed to bypass the competition laws in the United States. So you couldn't have one major company that would capture the entire segment of payments, meaning bank-to-bank transactions and peer-to-peer. I mean, banked and banked is the Stellar's logo, right? So they really needed to have another company with a very similar technology, which is Stellar's blockchain. They have great capabilities. They also deliver finality in just 3 seconds, like the XRP Ledger. So from there comes the reason why I am extremely bullish on XLM, and considering XLM is probably 10 times cheaper than XRP right now. It's at 20 cents.
It is, yeah.
It's just insane. And then I'm also a huge enthusiast of algorithms.
Yeah.
I love to see projects that are doing something, as I always say, something tangible on the real world. And Algorand has tokenized. So you had over 500,000 airline tickets that were tokenized on Algorand in the last 12 months. It's 500,000 airline tickets with TravelX. So you have major developments on Algorand. Also, Algorand, if you remember the previous bull run 2021, it was always above $1 or $1.50. That was the standard price for Algo. And right now it's sitting at below 20 cents. So I am also extremely bullish on Algorand. They deliver fast finality in under 3 seconds. You can tokenize anything of value on top of Algorand blockchain. And most importantly, this is also why financial enterprises just love Algorand. It's never had a downtime since its inception in 2019. So it has a clean sheet. It's one of the few blockchains that can claim this feature that never been down. So that's also a project that I am extremely bullish on.
And Algorand was like the only project Gary Gensler was okay with, right? Because his friend, was the founder of it. I remember him saying that on stage or whatever. But let's do this.
You have MIT genius, Silvio Micali. Yeah, so he's a brilliant mind, and he's the founder of Algorand. He developed the consensus mechanism for Algorand, and I think there's so many things to be excited about Algo, and I think it's extremely undervalued.
All right, let's do this. Let's take some questions from the audience because they're dying to ask some questions here. Do you have any, a view on the big, beautiful bill in the U.S.? Are you following U.S. policy or at all? Do you have an opinion on this?
So let me read the question. What's your view on big, beautiful bill and the U.S. potentially starting QA if rates don't drop soon. Honestly, I am not following this one. You might answer this one is better. You are American, so
Yeah, so do this. Like, if you're interested in learning about what's in the big beautiful bill, I watched this last night with my wife. It's John Oliver. Yes, he's a comedian, but he also has a lot of information and facts about what's in the big beautiful bill. I don't want to get into it too much because, you know, after watching that, I better understand maybe why there's so many people against the big beautiful bill. There's, I think, the lower 80% of people will actually pay higher taxes, and the highest people that make the most money will pay lower taxes. So if you're okay with that, that bill, you know, is good. If you're not okay with that, you might want to look and see what's in the bill. Let's go to this question here by Tony's Corner. If Ripple supposed to release XRP from escrow, and would that cause the price to dip? So, you know, we've had so many different releases of escrow. It's $1 billion a month. Ripple, usually, if they don't use the XRP for something, they lock it back up. But Edo, you have any comment about XRP Ripple escrow?
well, the escrow is a liquidity provider. They need algorithm. Sorry, let me rephrase that. The escrow is there for a purpose. You need enough XRP to fulfill all the ODL demands from Ripple. And a lot of people have a misunderstanding of the escrow. They think the escrow is there for Ripple to dump on retail investors. That's absolutely not true. I'm going to come out with some straight facts. Ripple has been one of the greatest buyers of XRP from the open markets in the last 24 months. So you come with that information and you really understand that the escrow is basically a liquidity provider. And now I'm going to give my speculation on what the escrow is about. I think if you go to the roots of XRP, when the SEC lawsuit was not around, Ripple used it to communicate much more openly what they were planning for XRP. And there are two main things. One, you probably know about the notorious screenshot of Ripple website where they openly said, sorry, not only the screenshot, but Brett Garlinghouse went on stage and said that XRP was meant to be a world reserve currency. That's number one. And number two, a lot of Ripple papers were about XRP replacing pre-funded accounts, the Nostra Vostra accounts, and that unleashes billions, if not trillions of dollars in liquidity to the system. So XRP is also a liquidity provider. Now, the main speculation that I have for the escrow, I don't think the escrow is mainly in possession of Ripple anymore. I think they have allocated substantial portions of the escrow, perhaps to the US Treasury, Bank of International Settlements, IMF, World Bank. And I think this escrow is going to be distributed to multiple central banks around the world. And that's how they're going to get rid of pre-funded accounts. And that's how XRP becomes a reserve currency. Because the definition of reserve currency is an asset held in substantial, so it's an asset held by central banks in substantial amounts, and that fits XRP as a world reserve currency.
Do you know any documentation or, like, you know, I'd love to better understand, is there any way to track if XRP has been sent to any of these entities like the BIS, like the IMF? Is there any way to confirm that with, you know, that we can do? Or is it kind of more that you heard?
Let me break this down. That's done through NDAs.
Yeah.
And the way they can sell it from the escrow, let's say they can allocate or sell it from Ripple to the Central Bank of Palau, for example, or for the Central Bank of Brazil, or we can go beyond to the Bank of International Settlements. They don't necessarily need to do it on chain. They can do OTC, over-the-counter deal. So you can do that without moving the price. But of course, as more and more XRP are compromised, in other words, are already pre-allocated to some big financial institution, the less supply is available on the open markets. Don't know if I explain myself. And there is an X account, it's called XRP Wallets. And he goes on chain and he tracks all the transactions that are made, the big XRP whale alerts, let's say 300, 500 million XRPs that are being moved. And what's happening right now is that we are already living through a supply shock for XRP. Because first, I did this myself. I did a video on that. If you go to Binance or the major exchanges, let's say you have $10 million and you want to buy XRP, you can't buy all the XRPs that are on the market because likely you will not even find 10 million XRPs in sell orders across multitude of exchanges. I did that experiment a couple of months ago, although I don't have $10 million, but I was looking the big sell orders on Binance in every single pair, Mexican pesos, Brazilian reais, Japanese yens, dollars, euros, and it was less than 10 million XRP. Now, what this XRP wallet is doing, and you can all check his handle on X, he's tracking the wallets. And
Trackbot. It's like XRP Trackbot or something, right?
No, he's an individual that is he's very good on investigating on-chain activity.
Okay.
You can pull him out on the screen if you want. If you just type XRP wallets, you will find him on Twitter, on X.
And XRP wallets.
Yeah. So what's happening since a couple of months ago, I guess, since XRP went above $2, this guy, I love him. Yeah, so he tracks the wallets. And what's happening now is that Ripple is now relying on the founder's wallet for on-demand liquidity transactions. So I'm going to say this one more time. The wallets that were untouched for years, so you had Arthur's Brito dormant wallet. I think it was inactive, like his X account. It was inactive for 14 years. Started to move the funds a couple of months ago. Chris Larsen wallet. I don't know if Brad got in house. I don't remember, but I remember Chris Larsen and Brito's wallet, which are some of the largest wallets after the big exchange wallets and the escrow. These XRPs started to be used for on-demand liquidity. So he started to track now XRP leaving directly from Chris Larsen wallet, hitting exchanges for ODL purposes. So what this is signaling is that less and less XRP are available for on-demand liquidity, which is literally communicating us that we might be in the verge of a supply shock. If they have to touch the founder wallets for transactions, that should tell you a lot.
Man, we're diving deep on this. Great. I shared that with the audience so they have it. Let's do this. Let's go to a few other questions. So people are asking, like, what is your current strategy right now for XRP taking profits wise? Like, are you in until, things, like where is a place that you would consider selling XRP? How about that?
Well, each person has a different financial reality. So maybe if I didn't have extra sources of liquidity, maybe I would be taking profits because you need to make it for a living. You can't go homeless because you hold crypto, right?
Yeah.
In my case, I have a very well diversified portfolio with today, of course, I did some cutting in my portfolio, but I hold still 8 to 10 different assets. And in the last months, I took profits on Velo, I took profits on SHX, even though I am still heavily invested in these assets. So fortunately enough, I was not forced to sell XRP. I'm also a real estate investor. So for me, pulling profits out of crypto, investing in hard assets and real estate was fundamental. So I did take profits in other digital assets, not on XRP. Now, if you ask me at which level I start to sell XRP, well, why would you sell an asset that's said to be a world reserve currency? I mean, why would you take profits on something if you did your own research like myself and you understand my ultimate goal in the future is to generate passive yield out of XRP, and that's going to happen when regulation is fully in place and we are able to lend our XRP to financial institutions and generate yield. That's the ultimate goal, but I intend to sell a portion at $10. It's a very small portion because I'm planning a huge yachting party, so I made a promise to my followers. Not sure if you heard about that one, but I will take some profits at $10. But besides that, I plan to just hold on the long term. I don't really need to sell XRP.
Gotcha, man. I gotcha. All right, let's do this. Let's go to another question here. Do you have any opinion on Caleb and Brown? I know there's a lot of people that heard it for, hear about Caleb and Brown.
Let me get this. Caleb and Brown, I think they are very trustworthy. For what I know, they do institutional custody, so I think that's interesting. Because if you have 6 or 7 figures in crypto, you might not want to have everything just in cold wallets, because it's risky nowadays. I mean,
Yeah.
people are being targeted for having digital assets, so it makes sense for some people to rely on Caleb and Brown. They do institutional custody, so that's safe. I do like them. But I don't have any specific thoughts. I don't collaborate with them. It's just my thoughts. I trust them for what I have seen they are doing on the crypto space.
I got you. I just wanted to clarify. Some people are asking again about the big, beautiful bill. They didn't like my John Oliver comment. So if you want to research what's in the bill, you have tax cuts and tax credits. Like I said, the bottom 80% of people that make the least amount of money will pay more in taxes. The top 20% will pay less in taxes. There's also deep cuts to Medicaid and supplemental insurance and SNAP and food stamps. There's also information, to stabilize rural hospitals, because when you cut billions of dollars of funding from rural areas, there's going to be hospitals and things that close. There's also other provisions: increase federal debt ceiling by 4 or 5 trillion. I've seen this number as low as 1 all the way up to 5 trillion. So, this is a deeply unpopular bill, but there you go. I know you didn't like the John Oliver comment, but there is some real facts about the big, beautiful bill. Hope you guys enjoy that. All right. There is a question here from Tony's Corner. Since the SEC approved the basket, this is a great question, man. Thank you, Tony's. Since the SEC approved the basket of ETF with XRP, could we see other spot ETFs approved soon? Help us get XRP price to rise. So, what are your feelings on today's news? So he's talking about. I was going to talk about this after we had finished. Let me just pull it up. Have you seen the post about it?
Yeah, I have seen the Grayscale XRP ETF. We also already had some ETFs in the past. I think this is the first spot XRP ETF. We had the futures XRP that were approved in Brazil. Now, my thoughts on that: I do think ETFs can have a positive impact in the price. Imagine when we have a BlackRock XRP ETF or something from the same magnitude. I do think they can impact the price, but I don't think that's going to be the ultimate driver for XRP price explosion. I think it might drive us perhaps to $5 or $10, but I am 100% convinced that when we're going to see XRP, let's say above $100 or $1,000, which can happen in the future, that's not going to be because of ETF. So I'm not particularly excited about the ETF. I know they can have some effect in the price, but that's not what we are expecting for the long run.
So, I spent some time researching this last, few weeks. And what I did was I pulled up some information about the Bitcoin spot ETF when that got approved. And it's interesting to read through some of the articles and the data and some of the analyst predictions. And so before it launched, there were some predictions that for every $1 that went into the spot ETF, that would affect the market cap by $25. And so we are, with the XRP ledger, there is less liquidity than Bitcoin. And there is some examples of inflows coming into XRP, and those inflows equaling like 100 or 200x multiplier on market cap. So are you familiar with kind of what I'm talking about, market cap multipliers? And do you think, because of the spot ETF, if we get 5 billion or 10 billion, do you think a market cap multiplier could take that out 50 or 100x to 500 billion or a trillion in market cap?
Well, I'm not that familiar with the math that you are telling me, but as I said, I don't think that's going to be like the big catalyst for an XRP price explosion as we are expecting. Now, there are also some downsides to the ETFs. If you see what's happening with BTC, there's 100% chance that it also opens more possibilities for market manipulation. I truly believe that is also possible to happen in the future with XRP.
Yeah.
But well, if you hold XRP, you know that we have been a victim of price suppression and manipulation in the last 5 years. So that's nothing new. It's just we have to be patient and we have to hold and ignore the market fluctuations.
What do you think? What are you waiting for? What is going to be the most impactful thing for the XRP ledger? Is it ETFs? Is it tokenization? Is it stable coins? What in your mind is the biggest factor?
I think the biggest factor is going to be the supply shock. I think when
Mm.
XRP starts to be globally adopted, we all know by default is a deflationary asset, so every transaction burns a percentage, a small fraction of XRP, but that's also a multiplier effect. So I think what's going to happen ultimately is the supply shock. Let's be honest, the price of an asset really comes down to one simple denominator. It's buyers versus sellers. If we have a supply shock, it means that there will be more demand than sellers, and that's going to ultimately create a snowball effect. And what I am watching for is definitely tokenization of real world assets and capturing a fraction of Swift's volume. We all know that that would be instant price appreciation.
Yeah, Blackhawk said Mikkel came out with a video, said ETF approval confirmed. He's talking about the subject that we were just discussing. It was a basket, a grayscale basket of currencies. It's like Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, ADA, and Solana, I believe, is in the basket. So, I do believe, people always ask, like, when is BlackRock coming, right? The reason BlackRock got so involved with Bitcoin is, one, Larry Fink got educated on Bitcoin, but they also had a huge demand from customers asking for the product. And so what I tell people in my videos is, like, if you have an account at BlackRock, you need to be asking them, where is your spot XRP ETF? I want to participate in that. You have a voice. You just need to speak up and use that voice. So, man, I'm really excited to hear this. Do you watch anything to do with Jake Claver, Edo? Do you know who Jake Claver is?
I do know about Jay Claver. Honestly, I have not watched his content, but
Okay.
I did hear great things about his work. I think recently I came out on a live streaming with Versan,
Mm-hmm.
and we were discussing about a theory that with the Middle East conflict that would speed up XRP adoption, literally creating a domino effect. And that's a theory that I came out with Versan. And then a lot of people started to say that that was Jake Clever's theory. And I was like, really?
Mm.
So they were thinking that we were stealing this theory from him, but we never watched his video. And then I went to watch his video, and it really matches with what we were discussing about. So I do give him, like, I want to say that I heard positive things about his work, even though
Yeah.
I have not been following it closely. I don't know if you watch his stuff. I know
I
he's great, honestly,
so
for what
yes,
people tell me.
some of it, I think really smart, educated people can have the same idea, right? And
Yeah,
so, I know there's a lot of kind of cross pollination with content, and a lot of people, look at ideas and they see those ideas doing well on Twitter, and then they kind of remake their own thing. And so, I just think that a lot of people can have different ideas of what the future is going to
yeah.
be. And so,
So just
yeah.
more specifically, I took that from Jim Rickards. He wrote
Mm,
2000, probably in 2014, a theory where how the global tensions would lead to the closure of the Hormuz Strait, and how that would affect the price of oil and commodities, and how Japan perhaps would be forced to dump US treasuries because Japan relies on the Strait of Hormuz for its oil consumption. And of course, it doesn't take much to connect that with Tether's downfall. So that's what I know about.
I know you and Verson and his brother do a lot of content around, the Great Reset, right? And you're quoting Jim Rickards and things like that. Do you see a total collapse of the financial system coming soon, or is that something that you guys are predicting is going to happen? I'd love to better understand your thoughts on the subject, if you have any.
Yeah, if you think about it, we can make a comparison. Usually, when you need to update the software of your computer, you need to reset the computer. Even if you install a new application, perhaps you need to update Google Chrome. I was asked today to update it. And in order for the changes to come into effect, you need to reset the system. You need to turn
Mhm.
it off and you need to turn it on. And as funny as it sounds, I think that also applies for the global economy. So
Yeah.
I am 100% convinced we are already living through a reset. I think the reset has already begun, and that comes with the cost of living rising exponentially. People are not able to afford for a living in many countries. I traveled the world. I have been to over 30 countries just in the last year, perhaps.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, just in the last year, perhaps 15, no, but perhaps 12 countries in the last 15 months. I am sure I have been traveling a lot, and everyone complains about the same. I see the same patterns playing out in the same in every single country. I mean, even the cost of a home is something that is unaffordable for the majority of people. If you play that by the rules of the system, it's mathematically impossible to become rich, to afford for a living. So I think the reset already begun, and that's going to be speed up by artificial intelligence and blockchain technology as well. It's going to play a pivotal role.
You know what, when we talk about like the Great Reset, you know, a lot of people that are in, you know, XRP or some of these other assets, you know, are kind of all for it. But on the other hand, like if there's a total collapse, there are hundreds of millions of people that'll be affected. So, you know, I know we put a lot of thought into what could make or create this Great Reset, but like what happens? Yeah, the catalyst. What happens?
Well, I think yes, I think the catalyst might be something that the globalists are warning us. Usually, yeah, someone say it's a bugs. I think the catalyst might be perhaps a cyber attack. I think that can trigger something big. If they disrupt the supply chain management in the world, if they somehow get rid of physical cash, I think they will come out with a solution that has to be blockchain based. So, well, if you watch the World Economic Forum and what are their predictions, they came out with an event which is called, well, first before the pandemic, they had event 201, which was basically a pandemic simulation, and then everything has planned out at the event, and now they came out with, I highly recommend everyone to research Cyber Polygon. That's how it's called. It's Cyber Polygon. And they came out with this theory that a cyber attack would reset the financial system. So that makes a lot of sense. I think that can be the catalyst.
How do we get out of it though? Like the Great Reset happens, the whole system goes to shit. We got to move all of this stuff to blockchain. Like, you know, what does that look like? I mean, I haven't put any thought into it, but I know that's a big topic that you guys talk about. So
that's what we talk a lot with Versan.
Yeah.
And that's about being invested in hard assets. So precious metals, gold and silver. Just look how fiat currencies are getting devaluated. So precious metals is not so much that Bitcoin is hitting new all-time highs. It's more that it's just adjusting itself to how much fiat currencies are getting devaluated. I mean, take $100 bill and think what you could afford 5 years ago. And now think about what you can buy today with $100. And there is a saying, I don't know how to say that in English because we have the saying in Italy, but it's something about cooking slowly the frog inside the pan, you know, and you boil the water slowly so the frog doesn't. How is that? There is a saying for that in English or what?
Yeah, something about boiling a frog. You gotta like you can't just put it in hot water. You gotta turn it up. Yeah.
If you do it slowly, then when it's already too hot, it doesn't realize and it just gets cooked. So that's exactly what's happening in society. They devaluated fiat currency so much, and people are thinking about there will be a catastrophic event. But if you look at society nowadays, it's already collapsed. I think there is no turning point for what's coming. There will be an economical collapse. It's already happening. If anyone doubts, well, think Europe as an example. The average cost of a property or the price per meter square is probably at least 3,000 euro in the capitals. 3,000 euros per meter square. So we have 100 square meter apartment, let's say a 2-bedroom plus a living room. One person has to work the entire lifetime to just afford the property. How is that not a reset already? You know?
Yeah. No, I hear that. Yeah, property.
And I think the way out is to invest on the digital infrastructure that's going to run the financial system. So in other words, be an early investor than a late adopter.
Yeah.
And stick to hard assets, real estate. That's how I see it. They want you to own nothing and be happy. So you need to own the protocols that are going to run the system.
What is that? Claus? That was Claus. What the guy that runs?
Yeah.
Geez. That guy. I don't know why they thought that guy would be a good leader. He just looks like
psychopath.
He looks like a villain. Yeah.
Yeah, from the movies.
Hey, so Chris Theodore, a long time member of the chat, always shows up and shares. He has a great question here. He says, Edo, crypto, do you think Brad, Chris, and Joel, etc., Ripple have an obligation to offer the community transparency about price manipulation? So if they have any data on it, or if they are contributing to it, do you think we, the community, deserve that information?
I think they don't contribute. Just think for a second, what was the main institution that was responsible for manipulating XRP price in 2024, last year? Do you guys remember the fake ETF filings, the
Yeah.
SEC, also the SEC account that was hacked, and that has caused XRP price to spike 60% in 2 minutes, and then it has collapsed? Do you guys remember that? How leveraged traders, insiders were profiting? So I don't think it's about Chris or Brett Garlinghouse or Ripple executives to be responsible for that. I think
Yeah.
the whole system should be held accountable, and that starts with the SEC itself.
Talking about accountability, right? It still feels that we are operating in a wild, wild west situation where scammers, are able to act with impunity. They can do whatever they want and nothing really happens to them, right? I have reported multiple things to the SEC, and the average time the SEC has gotten back to me is over 2 years after. How do we hold people accountable for scams, and how do we hold people accountable that are bad actors in the space, man? Like, do you see a solution here?
I think the future is gonna be so they come with this. It's called problem, reaction, solution, and that has affected me today. I was banned from TikTok,
Yeah.
and if you go on TikTok and you type my name, you're gonna find hundreds of TikTok accounts that are fake. They even have 100,000 followers, more than my original TikTok accounts that had about 60,000 followers. 1 million likes, one of them. 1 million likes, one fake TikTok account of mine has. And the solution, ladies and gentlemen, is called digital ID.
Okay.
Plain and simple. That's how they're going to solve the issues, but that's also how they're going to control the things that we see on the internet. So it's like, it's good and bad at the same time.
Yeah. Like, I think if you want to create a crypto project, even if it's a meme coin, maybe it require you to register somewhere. So if something does happen, you could be held accountable for that. But we'll see. Obviously, this is something that's moving in slow motion, and we might never get to a point where we're happy. Selt had a cool question here. I wanted to read it to you in regards to companies using XRP as a treasury asset. It's been stated a few that we know of is the tip of the iceberg. Do you see a gold rush by companies using XRP for treasury asset management?
Yeah, we have recently Vivo Power. It's a giant one that has came out with the treasury assets. And I think you are absolutely correct. His name is Selt Sean. I think we're going to have a similar gold rush for XRP. I think that's already happening behind the scenes. And let's not forget, Ripple has over 1,800 NDAs. So that might already be happening behind the scenes with OTC deals. That's might be the case why XRP is only at $2 right now. But once that comes out of shadows, the gold rush for XRP is going to be a real thing.
So I brought up on the page companies that have claimed that they are going to put money into either XRP directly and build a treasury using XRP for some type of use case in the company. Now, just because these companies say that they're going to do something doesn't mean that they are going to, or they have the money to. Sometimes they do this for the news and the popularity or whatever it is. So, but these, 9 companies, this is almost $1 billion promised to move into XRP, some type. And so, I did a video on this. There are, God, I think there was like, tens of thousands of banks, 80,000 credit unions, thousands of companies that are worth over $100 million. Like, at what point do all of these people show up and say, hey, it's time to really get involved, right? And like, I think that is coming very shortly. With regulation, especially in the US, there's no reason why companies won't be moving forward. So, is that a impactful moment you see happening this year, next year, and in 2030? Where do you kind of see this really taking off as a gold rush?
Well, maybe I should not say this, but here it goes. I think the Wall Street wants your XRP, so be very aware that there will be a gold rush similar to what we have seen in the past with precious metals. I think the same is going to happen with XRP. Now, to put a timeline is quite difficult, but again, I like to ask questions, and the first question I ask is, who could predict perhaps 1 year ago that the president of the United States would come out, mention a US strategic reserve, and the first digital asset that he listed is XRP. That was insane. If you came out on your YouTube channel or me on my X account and said that would be a thing a year ago, people would call us, this guy is nuts. He has lost his mind completely. Yet that has already happened. Another unexpected event is that Brad Garlinghouse went for dinner at the White House with Donald Trump and Stuart Alderoty. That's another thing to have in mind. Why I am telling you this? Because things are accelerating very quickly. So I would not be surprised if this gold rush happens even in 2025. That's how fast things are evolving on this digital landscape. And especially for XRP, if you think about this XRP, they needed, so let me put this in other words. The they needed the settlement layer, in other words, the XRP ledger, to be put through the test. So that's why XRP ledger is one of the first blockchains out there. That's why it's one of the most robust technologies with virtually zero downtimes in the last decade or so. So it's a very reliable blockchain. And they also needed to put it through the test with the regulatory framework. That's why they sued Ripple. That's why they took this in the first place. You don't see the SEC going out of other digital assets with the same intensity as they did with Ripple. But guess what? The chapter has closed, everything now is behind, and it turns out that XRP is the only digital asset with regulatory clarity, which opens doors for financial institutions to jump on board. Right now, the doors are open.
Really quickly, I want to continue talking about this. I just wanted to address Sybil Haynes. I know there's some people that already commented on this. Yes, any type of thing, doubling event where you send me your crypto, I'll send you double back. Always a scam. Always a scam. So just be very careful. Never send your XRP to anybody. You will not get that XRP back. I did see another question here by Digital Revolution. He's been commenting a lot in the chat. So let's bring up a question he has. He says, is Ripple to buy Uphold? And then he says both have the same gematria. Ripple has been working to buy, they just bought Hidden Road. They bought Medico, in 2023. They're making some big moves in that regard. What are your thoughts on Ripple maybe to buy Uphold? And what are your thoughts on Hidden Road and what that can do for the XRP ledger?
Well, Hidden Road is basically the biggest ever acquisition on the Web3 space. That was on the, how many billions? 5 billions?
No, it was Hidden Road was only 1.25 billion. It wasn't the biggest. It was like the third largest, I think.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know why I came up with 5.
You're good.
Anyway,
you're thinking of Circle.
I was thinking about Circle. That's true.
Yeah.
It's also not out of the equation that they're going to acquire Circle as well. So what I see is that, well, I have always said this. I don't have, I do have some evidences for that, but I think Ripple is not just a private company. I think Ripple is pretending to be a private company, but in reality, that feels like more a government agency. And usually the government, so when they want to achieve something that might generate discussions, might generate something controversial, they want to achieve something, they might dress themselves as a private entity. So you do have, it's very common in countries to have communication companies that are all owned by the governments, but they pretend to be competitors. So I'm going to have an example here in Greece. In Europe, you have main companies like, and I will take Italy as an example. You have Vodafone, you have TIM. In Greece, you have NOS. Sorry, in Portugal, you have NOS. So all of these companies, they are pretending to be private entities, but in reality, they are, at the end of the day, they are all government owned. So That being said, I think Ripple has a very similar approach, and I do see Ripple positioning itself as some sort of world bank in the future. I really see that they're gonna take this role as a liquidity provider for the banks. I did a whole thread in the past of how back in 1992 there was a company called Ripple Communications, and you can track the history of the domain of Ripple Communications. On the 2000s, it became OpenCoin, which was how Ripple was originally called on the official version, and then became Newcoin and finally become Ripple Labs. So you can track down even before BTC, even before Satoshi Nakamoto white paper in 2009, you had Ripple Communications, and Ripple Communications was basically the INSA. It's a government agency. That's a bomb right there. So
Damn. All
yeah,
right.
I wrote several threads on how you can track the history of Ripple all the way down to the INSA, and I see Ripple becoming some sort of a central bank.
Okay. I mean, that's some pretty insane news. We got a $5 donation from Lonzo Turner. He says, if you had to choose between Axelar or Ondo, which one would you choose and why? Thank you so much for the donation. And Edo, I'll let you take it away, man. Which one do you think?
Man, I'll be very honest. I'm not very much informed about AXL. You are a creator like myself. Probably you know it's impossible to follow every single cryptocurrency, man. It's impossible.
It
It's
is,
just
dude.
many of them. I know Ondo is very heavy on the tokenization of real world assets, have very good connections with Circle, so I would choose Ondo.
All right, let's just take a look here at the two tokens just so we can give them the full amount of our detail that we can provide. So it looks like Axelar is sitting at a $318 million market cap. Of course, they have some data here where they launched back in 2022. They have a high of $2.18 right now, sitting at 32 cents. If we take a look at Ondo, I think the market cap is a lot higher, right? It's 2.3 billion. So, it's very difficult. Obviously, Ondo, is a little bit, this is like a steak and potatoes things. They're kind of doing different things here, but kind of together. It's very difficult for me to choose between the two, but I would think Ondo and their tokenized funds, I think, can really, take it to the next level. But if you listen to the Axelar CEO talking about trillions of dollars on chain, oh man, that's a difficult one.
Are they also doing a tokenization? Well, I have to double check on them.
Dude, it's really hard. It's really hard. Lonzo, sorry, man. It's difficult to come up with the answer. I think both are good, man, honestly. But Ondo connected to all of these tokenized funds could do some crazy stuff. All right.
Not a beer, guys. It's just some sparkling water.
Yeah, we both drink sparkling water. I mean, what do you guys like? Listen, you're an adult. You're choosing regular water or are you choosing sparkling water? Because we're both sparkling water people. I'm interested to know, actually.
Guys, I have to confess, I only have probably two addictions in life. One is sparkling water, and the second one is coffee.
Man, I have sparkling water and a few other things I probably can't mention on stream, so we'll have to just leave it at that. Let's see here. Any other questions, guys? Please, if you have a few more questions, Edo, how much more time do you have with us, man? I know it's late there. I don't want to hold you too late.
Yeah, maybe we can jump on some final thoughts.
Sure.
Imagine for me now it's almost 3 a.m. I had a long day. I was most of the day dealing with my TikTok account that was banned. That was a big hit for me. So I do have a substantial income that comes from TikTok. So that was a big hit. And as you can see, guys, I'm wearing these glasses. It's the anti-blue light glasses because it's 3 a.m. I have once we finish the streaming, so I do use these glasses that they just block the screen lights. That helps me to sleep better. And that being said, I don't know. We have some final thoughts. By the way, I would love to go live with you one more time.
Yeah,
multiple times. I just enjoyed a lot of live streaming.
Absolutely, man.
I want to apologize. Maybe some questions I didn't do so much of a deep dive, but I promise you guys it's because I am very tired today. It was a difficult day for me. So imagine it's 3 a.m. I have been very tired. So I hope next time I can go more deep on some of your questions, honestly.
Edo, you provided so much context, man. We appreciate your time, and we're sorry to hear about your accounts. I did post both your YouTube account and your X account. Everybody that's watching, there's 2,600 of you guys here, 2,149 of you on X, and about 500 of you on YouTube. Please go and support Edo. He's making a ton of really good content. The amount of deep dives that he does is just spectacular. It's been such a pleasure to have him here and to answer questions and just to shoot the shit and talk about, XRP and other crypto assets. It's been a real joy for me. Edo, I'll give you the final thoughts, man, and we'll wish you a good night and a thank you.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. First, I want to thank you for the opportunity to come on your show. I know you have been doing a fantastic job, both on your YouTube channel. I also follow you on X. You have been truly an inspiration from when it comes to YouTube content creation. So, guys, you have to really appreciate what he has been doing on this space. I say this from my heart. And I know, man, now that I am getting more committed to YouTube, I truly understand this is a full-time job. I know how much efforts. It's incredible the amount of efforts that this guy has been putting towards his YouTube channel. And I truly know, I promise you guys, it's more than you can see on camera. Sometimes we as creators, we go through harsh times behind the cameras we might not talk about, but the fact that you show up every day, every week, one, sometimes twice videos per day, that's very impressive. So I want to congratulate you on that. You have been doing a fantastic job. And second, we're going to invite you on the show as well. We want to have you on we have the podcast, it's called The Turning Point. So we're going to be, if you accept the invitation, we're going to bring you on the show as well. We're going to be happy to have you together with Versan. We have some great people there. We have Versan, we have Vandal, David. I would love you to connect with these people. Even recently, we have one from Australia. He's called Nathan. He just joined the show and people love him. So we have him many times. And that would be a pleasure to have you as well. We can leverage our platforms. It would be amazing. And yeah, someone says, no, I was thinking SHX. I am so much on crypto. Someone wrote, thank you. And I heard SHX. So yes, I'm bullish on SHX as well. I felt compelled to answer that question. It was not about SHX. And anyways, I want to send a special thanks to the audience. How many people we have live here?
2,667.
Oh, that's fantastic. So drop a comment, guys. Where are you located so you can help boost the algorithm? Drop your country on the comments. Don't drop your street location. We don't want anyone to give the privacy away, but just share. Are you in Australia, United States, Europe? We want to hear from you. That also helps us as creators with the algorithm. Sorry, I was handling the mic here.
You're good, man. You're good. Go get some rest. Go get some rest, man.
Any final thoughts from you?
No, I just want to say, man, it is an absolute joy to spend time with someone that puts in as much hard work as I do to better understand what's happening. And it's just an absolute pleasure, man. Like you reaching out to me when I was going through those hard times last few weeks meant a lot to me. And it would be an honor to come onto any show and spend more time with you and talk with you. I think you have a great mind and intellect, and I'm excited to have you back, man. I'm sure the audience is excited to have you back as well. And just wish you all the best, man. I hope you get some sleep. I hope you get your account back.
I reached out to the support, and just the final thoughts on that, guys. It was insane. 2 days ago, I got an email. It went straight to the spam on my email, but somehow I found that email. And the guy was basically telling me that if I don't send him like $3,000, he would just ban my TikTok account. And I was like, damn, that's just a scam. I just ignored it. I even blocked the account. And today I woke up, I went to check on my TikTok. It was gone. And now we have a group of over 120 creators that were blackmailed by these people in the Middle East. That's a very serious issue. And we suspect that they have people infiltrated on TikTok because someone is profiting from this. They have blackmailed over 120 creators. So don't be surprised if you hear about this on the news. I think that's going to be something big. Anyways, I hope I am talking to the support. Let's see if they're going to help me out. And
man. I hope they do. You know, I wish there was something that I could do to help you, but you know, like TikTok, YouTube, they don't really have great customer service. Like you can't reach out and actually like pick up the phone and talk to somebody. You have to send an
Yeah,
email and
yeah,
pray
and you
to
know,
comes
man,
back.
you are a creator. You know how much efforts you put on that platform. So
Yeah.
imagine one day you wake up and your YouTube channel is vanished. I mean, that's devastating, and that's exactly what happened with me on TikTok today. I am glad it was not my only platform. I mean, I do YouTube, I do X, I do Instagram as well. So that's why it's also important to be diversified with the platforms if you are a content creator. But it's shameful to have such a platform like TikTok that's allowing that to happen to creators. It's a form of digital terrorism, you know?
Dude, like I feel like there needs to be more accountability for these bad actors in the space. And until that happens, it's still going to be a clusterfuck, man. So
Yeah, that's why they're gonna push the digital ID. So it's problem, reaction, solution. Unfortunately, it is required, and let's see how it goes.
all right, Edo. Hey, get some rest, man. I appreciate your time, and
Thanks, man.
thank
It's
you
a
again for
pleasure.
being here. All right, awesome. That was so great. Hey, listen, Edo is such a unique guy character. If you're not following him, please go show your support. Follow him. Hit the bell notification on. Support his channel. Hopefully, he gets his TikTok back because I mean that is just soul crushing. Putting all that time and work in, and having somebody come in and just blackmail you. You know, I'd probably answer the same thing. F you if somebody tried to blackmail me. But that is just heartbreaking. Let's do this. I wanted to get into some news. There is a lot of other things going on right now that we should be talking about. So, you know, if you don't mind, let's strap in. Let's go ahead and talk. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. And then, of course, there's a lot of XRP stuff. Some of the stuff we did talk about already, but I will go through pretty quickly here. And let's get through this. So, legend Hugh Hendry, he wants to sell his $35 million house to put it into Bitcoin. Check this out.
It's just performed really, really well in a risk-off episode. I'm thinking of selling this house. I could sell this for 30, 35 million. I want to get 10 million into Bitcoin because I think this is your last chance. It's going to trade closer to $1 million. It's going to trade at a capitalization greater to gold. And when it trades at $1 million, Bitcoin is boring. It's gold, but it's not.
All right, people are pumped up. You also have some information here. Bitcoin is the forecast to hit all-time highs in July from historical data. So here is the month of July. And as you can see, we've had some pretty green months here going back to 2013. Here is the category for July. Last year, we were up only 2.95%, but in 2022 and 2021, both 16.8 and 18.1%. 2020, it was up 24%. So there has been some monster months, and hopefully July is that monster month to really get us going here. Also, Jack Mallers, you know, I don't really love Jack Mallers. I think he kind of cries too much. But anyways, he's on Bloomberg talking about the importance of Bitcoin. And I want to just play this clip, 34 seconds.
Eye on DC today. And with that in mind, is there anything that you would like to see specifically when it comes to crypto legislation?
The Bitcoin Act.
Okay.
As an American, I would love to see Senator Lummis's bill pass. I think it's strategically important that we not only support this industry and this asset class, but we own it.
All right.
I think going back to our foundings as a country and how important we've been in the gold market, I think having zero Bitcoin or a rounding error amount is a strategic mistake, and the country gets that. President Trump gets that, and I'd like to see that pass.
Interesting. This man has no clothes. I mean, he spent all the money on the house, but didn't get any clothes. Like, you know, if like this was my house, my wife would have taken control of all of this territory. I'd have like the thing in the middle with the drawers. You know what I mean? All right. Tom Lee explains the real reason price isn't moving for Bitcoin. So let's better understand what's happening right now with Mr. Tom Lee.
We know Bitcoin ETFs are the most successful product launch like in history. And then someone says, well, if you're going to collect that much money, Bitcoin goes to the moon. But it turns out Bitcoin's risen, but it's kind of churned. I think what happened is a couple things. One is a lot of these ETFs may have been receiving in-kind exchange. So people have their crypto keys, give it to the ETF provider, and then they just stepped up their basis. So that's not going to push up the price of Bitcoin. It adds to their
It's a
AUM.
wash.
Yes, it's a wash. And the second is that the ones who aren't involved in ETFs, but maybe they have $10 Bitcoin. We have clients that have bought Bitcoin at $100 and now it's 100,000. They're not looking to, they don't care if Bitcoin goes to a million. They are probably sellers at around 100,000. So we're churning the base now because 95% of the institutional world doesn't own Bitcoin, but a very significant portion of Bitcoin holders are sitting on huge gains. So I think this is the churn that's happening in Bitcoin.
Damn, look at this dude. Looks like from a movie or something. Oh, what am I thinking of? Maybe it was Bruce Willis wearing these glasses or something. I don't know. All right, it's been 2 hours. My mind is running. Okay, Bitcoin OTC balances drop 10-year low of 156,000 Bitcoin. So obviously there's less and less Bitcoin on the open market. This could mean we are going to see a big push up in Bitcoin price. You got Robinhood CEO says it's time to move beyond Bitcoin and meme coins, highlighting the shift of 24/7 on-chain markets, real-world assets with fundamental utility. Let me play this.
I believe it will make it easier to invest in American companies if you're outside the world. It will also bring the markets into 24/7 and fully on-chain and get all the benefits that crypto technology levies on these traditional assets. So I think it's time to move beyond Bitcoin and meme coins into real world assets that exhibit fundamental utility.
Interesting, right? You keep hearing from Larry Fink, from the CEO of Robinhood, that these markets are moving to blockchain. Is anybody think that the markets are not moving to blockchain, right? Like, have there been enough proof and facts to show you that make you believe, yes, this is finally happening? Or are you still on the fence, like, maybe it's happening, maybe it's not? My thing is, like, at what point does all of this, like, the floodgates open? Because you start tokenizing stocks. Okay, which stocks are you tokenizing? Do you go in ABC order? Do you go with the biggest companies first? Like, how does that all work? I would really love to have somebody on the show that could answer those questions, because, like, do you just do 1% at a time, like 1% a week, or does it all happen at once? I'm dying to know. I did want to look up some information about what Robinhood is doing. We talk about offering versions of US stocks and ETFs to customers, tokenized versions, right? This is something that we've known is coming for quite some time. This shouldn't be a shock to anybody, especially if you've been watching my channel for the last 2 years. This is something I've been just saying long before, Larry Fink came out and said, that we're going to have these, tokenized stocks, bonds, derivatives. Robinhood, they're into crypto staking, perpetual futures for European traders, new blockchain and product enhancements, crypto rewards and credit integration. The interesting part here, guys, is any competitor against Robinhood, if they are not taking the same steps that Robinhood is taking, they will lose in the end, right? The companies that are offering the newest and best technology are going to get the market share of what's to come here, right? If you don't have infrastructure set up for blockchain, it's a little too late to build it now. If you want to be a player in the space, you need to acquire companies. That is what Robinhood has been doing. Don't be shocked if BlackRock, Fidelity, some of these gigantic banks and conglomerates start making their own moves and start buying up companies themselves. I think we are really at the start of what could be an incredible run on crypto infrastructure. It is going to be massively needed. All right, really quickly, the EVM sidechain is launched. There's a video coming out momentarily on my channel that has a complete breakdown of why this is important and my feelings and everything about it. They're supporting all kinds of wallets. You got MetaMask, Kepler, Cosmos, Leap. You have, all kinds of crazy things happening here. So it's going to be XRP as the gas. You have Squid router to bridge XRP to get started on the EVM sidechain. From other EVM chains, XRPL EVM. Squid router will swap assets like ETH, USDC, wrapped Ethereum, XRP. And you got Cosmos, IBC based asset transfers on Cosmos Hub, Osmosis, and others. And then, you're talking about DeFi and DEXs really starting to build out. Now, remember, DEXs are usually when a large amount of liquidity is coming into a chain. Like this, a good example was Sui. We saw a bunch of value moving from Solana to Sui it was like 6 months ago, right? Maybe a little bit longer. And, I said at that time, look at the DEXs, like maybe the NFT platforms. The infrastructure for those blockchains are great places to make, quick gains if you know what you're doing and if you can kind of see it coming. If you want a good place to track that type of stuff, DeFi Llama will tell you where value is moving into what chain. It will also tell you like the DEXs and the NFT platforms, the infrastructure. Let me just show you that example here so you know what I'm talking about, because I know some people are going to be like, Sensei, I can't find it. So let's just pull this up here. We've got DeFi Llama on the screen. The website is going to be put in the chat here. Love to have you guys here. I'm gonna check your questions in just a second here. Okay, I'm not ignoring you. So if I typed in Sui here and pull up the Sui blockchain, down here is it tells me kind of what these DeFi companies are, like what are they doing. You have DEXs here, leverage farms, real world assets, yield, all kinds of stuff. And if you looked at this like 6 months ago or 8 months ago, there was like 10 or 12 to choose from. There was a big hack on Cetus. Cetus lost, I think it was like 150 or $200 million because of some type of bad actor coming in, finding some issues with the code and going in and just taking money. But like Turbos was a good example of something that people made some money on. But just be cautious. If you see a new chain, if you see value moving onto that chain, like this is where you're going to be able to take a look here. You can see in 2024 it just peaked, and about here, middle of the last year, it just spiked up crazy. So just remember to keep a mind of that happening. Let's go ahead and take a look here at some more information. This is a great thread. Like I said, I just put out a video on my channel going through all of this information. There's a bunch of clips of David Schwartz here talking about the EVM sidechain and the possibilities. I think this is a great step for XRP's future. And then also, guys, I know there were some questions like, is there multiple EVM sidechains? Just so you know, here it is. Based on the search results, there is currently one primary XRP EVM sidechain. There's a lot of companies building on it. And so there were some questions about if there's multiple. Just I want to answer that. There is not. Unified Partnerships, Ripple, Peersys, and Axelar are those connections. Here's a clip of David Schwartz at Apex Summit 2025. This just happened. And they're just going to be talking about this is a major turning point. Let me play this for you.
It's true. We're at a turning point. Public chains were once seen as too risky for institutions, and now it's too risky for institutions not to integrate them with their business. Institutions have truly embraced blockchain and are finally launching real products on public chains, including the XRP ledger. And XRPL is evolving to meet that demand. Over the past year, a number of key features have gone live, ranging from the automated market maker to decentralized identity, price oracles, and clawback. And we have others that are still in voting: credentials, MPTs, permission domains. These features are foundational infrastructure for building secure, transparent, and scalable financial products. And we're not just modernizing finance, we're making it more inclusive, accessible, and programmable. And we're finally seeing real traction. XRPL is supporting real-world applications ranging from payments to yield generation, all decentralized and at scale.
All decentralized and at scale. Interesting. We did talk about the Peersys, post about them being live with it. Really cool to see the EVM sidechain going live. There is another clip here of David Schwartz talking about the EVM sidechain, massive catalyst for XRP. I think it's worth a listen to. It's a minute 15. Let me play it.
Example of a sidechain is the EVM sidechain. Nice thing about the EVM sidechain is that it's easy to develop on for people who know how to develop smart contracts on EVM. Developer teams at Peersys, they've been busy working on this blockchain in parallel with the main XRPL blockchain. It is now live on DevNet. That's where developers can test implementations before they go live on the mainnet. The sidechain is connected to that XRPL sidechain DevNet via a bridge. This is a decentralized bridge that's very important, and it uses the XLS38D cross-chain bridging functionality to bridge to that XRPL node. So that's a bridge that connects the development network to the test instance of the sidechain. The next step is going to be to adopt XLS38D on the XRPL mainnet. Once that amendment is approved by the validator community, a new EVM sidechain can be launched to the XRP Ledger mainnet. Of course, as can other sidechains. All components of this solution should be production ready to handle real-world scale and real-world use cases. The solution will be a decentralized one. Nodes will be run by different XRPL community members. Really excited to bring a sort of compatible version of smart contracts to the XRP Ledger ecosystem. People already know how to develop them. There's a broad ecosystem.
Really quickly, guys, I want to see if we can get a boost here. Right now, we have 2,718 people watching. The max we've ever had was like 29,988. We never hit 3,000. If you haven't shared the chat, or if you haven't hit like, please do so. If we can hit 3,000, it would be an incredible day for me and the channel. I'd really appreciate your support. All right, Axelar, I can't play this because I think this video has you know, some copyrighted music, but I mean, everybody is pumped up about the EVM sidechain, and I think this is really going to bring new developments, new projects, new use cases. This is exactly what we've been missing. Paul Barron did share this tweet out. I just want to verify this with you. I did fact check this. You know, you have Starbucks coffee here. I did look it up. Starbucks is not in any type of crypto, you know, asset classes right now. They're not, you know, there's been no news about Starbucks. Starbucks does not accept cryptocurrency as a payment method. Oh, it does. Excuse me. Starbucks does accept cryptocurrency as a payment method in several ways, but not exactly described in the image. The image shows a point of sale system. Excuse me. I read that wrong. I apologize. Starbucks began accepting Bitcoin and Ether in 2021. There also, I did look up other companies. Take a look at this. Shopify, Home Depot, AMC Theaters, AT&T, Microsoft, luxury brands such as Gucci, Balenciaga, Off-White, Ralph Lauren do accept crypto at select locations. Expedia, considering stablecoin acceptance. Best Buy, crypto purchase gift cards usable in stores. And then Amazon, developing or considering their own stablecoins for payment. So there are a lot of retailers who are actively participating in the cryptocurrency market. I know we don't see this, and I know it's not kind of blasted in front of us, but do know that these companies are all trying to better understand how they can use this technology to their benefit. Remember, over the last few years, the Biden administration really didn't allow crypto to flourish here in the United States. There was a lot of debanking and a lot of lawsuits that we had to go through. Now that the Trump administration is more focused on being crypto friendly, you know, we have a crypto czar and all of these other, you know, the FDIC, the OCC, the Federal Reserve, the CFTC, the SEC, they're all on board now pushing forward with crypto. This should allow financial institutions, banks, and companies to roll out whatever they are going to roll out. I think in the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to see a lot more announcements and a lot of people starting to participate in that. The crazy thing is, though, and I'd love to better ask you guys, do you think, I really like to know, do you think you're going to be using your crypto to buy a coffee, or when you go to Safeway or Walmart or Target, are you going to be spending your crypto right now? Or are you like me, where I am trying to do everything I can to not sell or send or whatever crypto? I'm trying to keep buying what I'm buying because I think longer term, over the next 5 to 10 years, this is going to let me retire. That is my goal here. So I'd love to better understand what you guys think. Just share it on X, man. I love you, man. Thank you, Blackhawk. I appreciate you. Really, really appreciate you. We need stablecoin debit cards. I'd imagine that's coming, but like, no, but hold on. If you have stablecoin, right, isn't it going to be a digital wallet? Like, you know, when you go and you double press your phone, you know, to pay for something, you know, your cards are here. Like, won't it be something like that instead of like an actual physical card? I think like checks, physical cards, I think eventually will become, you know, part of the old system and not in this new system. I think it'll all be digital, but when will that happen? I think you're probably right. We will see stablecoin credit cards before you know it, but or stablecoin debit cards before you know it, but it should be on the computer. I've used 2 phones, a tablet, 2 computers on 5 accounts. Christopher, you don't have to do that, man. But hey, I greatly appreciate you. I really appreciate you. Val says there he or she is accumulating. Definitely not going to be selling. I like to hear that. Yeah, bro. Yeah. I think I have a post on this. Hold on. Let me pull up something to share this with you. Twitter. What is that? Who posted it? I think it's Crypto Eerie. Hold on, Eerie. So let me see. She had a post about this. hold on, let me share this tab. It's disgusting. Don't even link to management. In November, prepared a script statement for both Brad Kimes and DIA to read on their videos in November. This put both contracted employees in an unfair, promising, and compromising position. Excuse me. The statement was in response. Okay, so I guess, I don't know, man. There's some shady business going on here. 1 second. There's a bigger post. This is the post. Okay, so let me read this to you. All right, so the question was asked by Blackhawk, did Link2 file bankruptcy? So here is the information that I have. Super ugly, Link2 update. With bankruptcy coming in days, expect customers will likely be transformed into unsecured creditors who have to wait to get in line to get paid. From boiler room sales tactics to selling to customers in Iran and North Korea. Are you kidding me? You've got to be kidding me. We're like, what? That cannot be. Okay, let me finish this. I'm fucking shocked. Excuse me. I wasn't expecting to read that. I think what happened was earlier I kind of skipped this part and I was reading this part, and so I didn't see this part earlier. I do apologize. What happens when I'm reading things live to you? You're gonna get a live reaction, whether it's good or bad. It is what it is. All right. So this guerrilla warfare, take no prisoners, throw everything we have at it. This one targeted date influencers, marketing ads, social calls, and smoke signals is email from Bill Saris on January 5th, 2023. To recap some of the highlights from this article, Link2 founder Bill Saris was trying to unload shares of Ripple to Link2's 11,000 users at a price 60% higher than he paid. So you basically have the founder of Link2. Is this fraud? I don't know. I'm not an attorney, but this doesn't seem legit. The SEC generally prohibits markups above 10%, but Saris pushed ahead, not disclosing the hike to customers and pocketed $2 million. This looks a lot to be securities fraud. Okay, there you go. The SEC and DOJ are also investigating whether Saris improperly sold an additional 16,000 shares of Ripple without permission. Wow. Boiler room sales operation. It's a rush to sign up more users. Link2 also pushed other boundaries, buying in email lists that contain prospects from Iran and North Korea. Like, these people are freaking bananas. Who is this Bill? Hold on. Who's Bill Saris? I just got to see what this dude looks like. You know, this guy's going to be the new face of, oh, okay. So this is the guy. Interesting. Okay. Oh, did he take down? He took down, he took down his uphold stuff. Oh, he took everything down. Interesting. I guess he knows it's coming, right? All right, let me get back to this. 2 million. We talked about this. Boiler, LinkedIn, boundaries, North Korea. They signed up roughly 100 customers who said they were from these countries, according to people close to the situation. In 2022, Saris urged a manager to increase the price of software company Polysign to 3.25 per share to boost revenue by 600,000. We can turn it into a unicorn via our platform. Saris, oh, damn, there's a lot of shady business going on. At the end of 2023, Link2 learned that Ripple, which remains private, was preparing to buy back shares of customers at roughly $61 each. Link2 reached out to customers who were in the black on their Ripple investments and convinced them to sell 144,000 shares to Ripple back to the company, an average of $55 per share. So basically losing money. According to people close to the situation, it then sold them to crypto company at a higher price, offering, booking $8 million in revenue. So he was screwing Ripple. He was screwing the customers. This guy is a real piece of work. Ahead of the deal, Link2 hired an external law firm to conduct a review of its business practices. The law firm came back with a damning 18-page memo written with a few months after the Ripple spike day, warning that the company was potentially violating multiple federal laws, including anti-fraud provisions and U.S. securities laws. The external lawyers advised Link2 to immediately cease charging markups for shares. In September 2024, Link2 abandoned the SPAC merger, SPAC merger. A short time later, the SEC informed the company that it was starting to investigation into its businesses. Link2's own lawyers are also sending warning signals. In an 8-page memo, they worried that its tactics were potentially illegal and outlined roughly a dozen recommended changes, including no longer allowing its customers to self-certify. They were accredited and avoiding any possible exposure to severe civil or even criminal penalties, according to the memo. That is heartbreaking to hear. That is difficult to hear, man. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's more people hurt, or people don't have their, you know, some people put their life savings into stuff like this, you know, and man, that's tough. Link2 actually reached out to me in my channel last year to promote them. I chose not to. I felt like, you know, there was a lot of other influencers that were doing it, and I didn't really like the platform. I tried to use it. It was very difficult to get money off. It's heartbreaking. John Deaton was also affected. I think John said he had $495,000 on Link2. I'd imagine there's going to be some type of class action lawsuit if you were affected by this. If I learn of any information, additional information that I can share with you, I will post it right away. And if there's any type of victims groups that I hear about, I will also communicate those to you guys. Okay. All right. Let's shift gears a little bit here. It's kind of difficult to shift gears with that story. It's I mean, talk about greed. You know, like if you know, how much is enough money, right? You got 2 million and then you got 8 million from this. Like, how much money do you need, right? Like, you obviously are incredibly shady if you're just keeping doing this. All right. Let me shift gears before I just get lost in this. SEC approves ETF conversion. So we talked about this with EDO. You know, this does allow Grayscale to basically offer this, and XRP is included. This should be a sign that other spot XRP ETFs will be approved soon. Obviously, you don't want to have a market where one company has the only solution. So the SEC knows that they need to play ball with these other institutions. I would imagine that will have some impact on price, just like it had impact on Bitcoin when it launched. We don't know if it's going to be like a Bitcoin launch or if it's going to be like an Ethereum launch. We're hoping for the Bitcoin, and we're really trying to avoid the Ethereum launch for their spot ETF. X-Bull shared this. He says XRP Ledger users growth is going vertical, 5.6 million plus accounts, 2,800 new in a single day for a decade-old chain, spikes from 1K to 8K, and the next wave closes in. Legacy blockchains don't usually do this. The XRPL is reshaping adoption. Are you bullish on XRP? If it is like your first time on this channel, I eat, sleep, and breathe XRP and related crypto news. So please make sure that you're following. I promise to bring you the best information that I can possibly find. And I spend a lot of time fact checking a lot of the stuff that comes off of X, and I show you how I do that in real time. All right. I did want to take a look at a little bit of financial data before we get into some other crypto news. The U.S.'s money supply is increasing. The U.S. M2 money supply jumped 4.5% year over year in May to a record 21.94 trillion. This marks the 19th consecutive monthly increase. It now surpasses the previous all-time high of 21.86 trillion posted in March 2022. Furthermore, inflation-adjusted M2 money supply rose 2.1% year over year month, the largest increase since 2022. Since 2020, the M2 money supply has risen 7 trillion or 45%. The US has a spending problem, and I don't think that will ever be resolved. I did want to bring this up. I shared this in last week's Sensei chat. I think it is DMC. Let me see here. There is so many different ones. Sorry. Is this the right one? Here we go. So it looks like this has risen. We talked about this. God, what was this? Probably about a week ago. when this thing launched. We talked about this when this thing launched. So if you would have gotten it like down here at the bottom or anywhere in here, you know, this went up a few 100% here. Let's just track this from the bottom to where it is right now, 170% currently. And I do believe this is going to continue to rise. I didn't really love the use case for the token. I think that could be better. And I think they're probably going to work on that over the future. I just wanted to give you that update on what's happening there. Coming back to this here, we did get some news about Algorand is now natively multi-chain with Wormhole NTT. I just did a video about why Wormhole was important on the channel. If you're interested to go take a look at that, please do. We do have digital perspectives. You say Brad Keim saying crypto companies are becoming banks. The next steps will be crypto services. I just did a video on Ripple becoming a bank. I've done this video before, but what I didn't do is I didn't include the steps Ripple would need to follow to become a bank. And I go into that in great detail. It's very interesting. Actually, I could probably share some stuff with you. You guys want me to share some stuff with you about this? If you guys want me to, I will. I have it ready if you're interested. LEX, peace, brother. Great to see you, man. Thanks for being here. We're at 2,926 people. So we're 100 people away from hitting 3,000. Let's keep it going, guys. Let's keep the fire coming. Let me see here. You guys want me to share it? Yes, I'm getting one yes here. Coinbase limit. No, my Coinbase is not 20. I can do 50K a day on Coinbase. I know that because I just did a $40,000 buy on XRP earlier today. So you can definitely push it up if you want to. All right, let's do it. Let's get into this, my people. Okay, so if Ripple to become a bank. So listen, I promise me, I'm reading this to you. I'm kind of going ahead of my video because, you know, you guys are asking me to do this, obviously, but if you can, go watch the video too. If you can give some support to it, that'll come out in a day or two. So the steps that Ripple would need to take to become a bank are pretty simple. The first thing is to obtain a banking charter or license. Ripple would need to secure either a federal or state banking charter. Let me just make sure I'm sharing the right screen. I am. The federal charter is issued by the Office of Comptroller Currency, who has already said that crypto banks can, hold crypto and custody crypto and use crypto, while state charters are issued by individual state banking authorities. So Ripple would need to see, do they want to be a federal bank or do they want to be a state regulated bank? Obviously, I think maybe federal bank, you'd have more use cases. And I think Ripple would probably go after a federal charter. There is something that might be created for fintech companies, and we'll get into that in just a second. The application process requires submission of extensive documentation, including a business plan, information about senior management, financial projections, and risk management. We're also talking about the company must demonstrate a reasonable chance for success and commitment to operating a safe and sound manner. Also, Ripple would need to secure a deposit insurance. Ripple would need the approval from the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. First, the insurance, which protects customers for certain limits. They would need to meet capital requirements. You know what? Hold on. This is a different search that I had. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I just have so many windows open. I wanted to find, this is the one I want. Sorry. This is the one I want. Okay. Let me go back into this. This one doesn't have as much information. This one does. Okay, here we go. So we talked about Ripple, either state or federal, but here is what I was talking about. A proposed digital-only bank charter currently being discussed by figures like Greg Kidd could allow companies like Ripple to operate as banks, focus on deposits and payments without requiring physical branches or lending services. I do think Ripple will want lending services. You know, you do hear them say, like, we want to be a lender of last resort. When you hear that, they obviously want to be able to lend. So I don't know if this digital bank is exactly what Ripple wants to do, but this could be something that fintechs are allowed to do in the future. They are working on this. Also, you need to prepare a comprehensive business plan. You need to outline the mission, the objectives, the products, the services, the targeted market, and financial projections for the bank. This plan must demonstrate a viable path to profitability and compliance with regulatory expectations. The next step would be to assemble a qualified team. Assemble. I always think like the Avengers, assemble, or like Power Rangers. I don't know. That was like a long time ago. Random. So Ripple already has some incredible people either working on their board, working for Ripple directly on the RLUSD board. I mean, they could put together a dream team to run a bank in a second, in my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Could they do this really quickly? They would also need to meet capital requirements. All of these banks have certain requirements that they need to uphold. The common equity tier capital ratio is 4.5%, tier 1 capital 6%, total capital ratio is 8%, leverage ratio is 4%. Additional ratios may apply depending on the charter or business model. The next step would be to register or apply for a charter. Ripple would need to register as a legal entity for banking purposes and submit a comprehensive application to the relevant regulatory body, which is the OCC. The application must include extensive documentation, the business plan, governance structure, risk management policies, and anti-money laundering procedures, and so much more. Remember, with Ripple, compliance first. They have all this AML, KYC, and other requirements that they deal with banks and other financial institutions. Remember, Ripple's customers are not me and you, they're financial institutions. Obtain deposit insurance. We did talk about the FDIC deposit insurance already. Regulatory review and approval. The application undergoes a detailed review, including background checks on key personnel assessment and financial stability, risk management, infrastructure, and operational readiness. This process can take a year or more, so this could take quite some time. Regulators may require pre-opening examination and additional compliance steps before the final approval. And then, of course, there is ongoing compliance after the bank is launched. So that is what Ripple would need to do to become a bank. If you were wondering, that is the juice. I also, in the video, I talk about the benefit also if Ripple became a bank, but I don't want to get into that too much here. All right, let me see here. There are a few other things I think I want to talk to you about. You know what? The rest is just kind of like news in the US, like financial news. And I don't know if everybody wants to hear all of that. So let me do this. I will answer any question that you guys have. They need to uphold. I think, you know, there is an ongoing question in the community that Ripple might buy Uphold. And I did a video on that, I think a day or two ago. If you're interested in kind of like my direct thoughts on that, is it possible? I think it's very possible. For infrastructure and other use cases, a lot of Uphold's technology is based around the XRP ledger. A lot of tokens that Uphold has are the XRP ledger tokens. So it would make sense if Ripple tried to acquire them. But we will see, my friend. We will see. Dream team for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think they could put together an incredible team, man. Like it in a split second, they could do it. I wouldn't be shocked. Compliance time can speed track for some degree if Ripple went to the bank route. Yeah, Daniel, I think you're absolutely right. I think Ripple could definitely go this route. I think they obviously know the regulators already. They're New York Department of Financial Services is the one who kind of audits and checks RLUSD. They've already gone through most of this stuff already. So putting this together, I think, would just be a snap of a finger for them. Perhaps an IPO more important than Uphold. You talking about Ripple IPOing? I mean, it's a real possibility, folks. Brad Garlinghouse did say months ago that they were not really interested in doing that right now, but anything can change. I don't think Ripple is looking at it like, hey, man, we got to sell some stock so we can, keep going. Usually an IPO is to raise money. Ripple doesn't need to raise money. So that is kind of the issue right there. Well, I mean, they need to, they want to. I get you. See you later, Jamie. Appreciate you. So it's not, what if the SEC gives $50 million plus settlement amount, $75 million to Ripple judgment to John Deaton class action? It's not going to happen, dude. I know that would be incredible, but you think the government is going to hand over $75 million to anybody? I personally don't have faith that that's going to happen, but we could be shocked. See, oils, they IPO, then tokenize the stock. I just don't think Ripple's going to be IPOing anytime soon, my dude. I don't think so. We have 2,965 people watching. We need 35 more people to watch. Man, you think it'll happen? We are so close again. Yeah, the judge is going to make Ripple pay the full 125 million. You know, she's already said that, especially if they drop their appeals, their cross appeals, they have to pay the full amount, 125 million. So, I mean, that's a, you know, it's not a great day for Ripple, but it's a good day that this would be behind them. And I think the amount of money that Ripple can make in the future is, you know, even more than what they would lose to just settle this and get them behind. Kate's here. What's up, Kate? How are you? Appreciate you, Fred. I hope you're doing well. Man, we are so close. 2,971, 72. We need 28 people. I have a question. So Christopher says he has a question. Years from now, when we're all rich. Ooh, I like how this question is starting. I don't even want to read the rest. Can we just end there? Will you still be doing lives and content, Sensei? Maybe we'll do some fancy yacht instead of YouTube. Listen, I could make all the money in the world, but what's been most important to me is connecting with people and really helping them understand what's going on, like what's happening, why it's important, why should you be paying attention. That's a really important part of my life right now. And I don't see myself stopping that. Now, you know, would I have new digs? Would I have, you know, a few new nice cars? You know, absolutely. But I'd also be looking at how I can put the money to good use to help others too. You know, for making $100 million or something stupid, right? You know, I think there's a lot of things that can be done to help, you know, your neighbors and things like that. So I'd be looking at doing a bunch of that. But hey, you got a yacht, man? Pull it up to Hawaii. We'll go out. Let's see here. Blackhawk says, so what's going on with SBI right now? I hear that they are gearing up to move XRP and a lot of it. Like, I don't know, man. It's very difficult. I think SBI is trying to figure out how they can make use of their XRP. I did see something that like the SBI holdings, their XRP is worth more than like their bank, right? Or something like that, or how much their bank's worth. I don't know. I think SBI is working to use the technology. There are other you know, conglomerates and banks that are working in Japan that have tested, you know, Ripple and XRP. You know, when I looked this up, there was only like 200 banks in Japan. I've never been to Japan, so I don't have like the hard count. But when I researched this, they said there's about 200 banks, and of course, there's, you know, thousands of branches across Japan. But a large portion of those banks are or already have tested XRP and Ripple's technology, as well as they have the option to use it. First timer, what's up, Stuart? Nice to have you here, man. Great to have you, man. Absolutely. Love to have you here. USA, Hawaii time. Yes. April, what's up, April? Glad to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. Sensei, if I was Ripple, I would pay the fine and enjoy sausage sizzle. That is a tongue twister in New Zealand, man. I would love to visit New Zealand and we could go out for some sausage sizzle. Is that like a saying there? You know, like the sausage will sizzle. Like that is a good saying there. I've never heard that. So how is Sol 147 and XRP is 215? I think that comes down to tokenomics. I mean, Solana has an infinite supply too. So I don't know. Different like circulating supply, how much money is actually in the ecosystem. These are all things that can change the price. Let's see here. Oh, we just have people like just now joining, saying hi to Edo. They don't realize that Edo's gone. And love your channel. I started crypto last year. I never sold any crypto. Got Elipel wallet too. Love to hear that, man. Appreciate you for being here and all your support. Digital, gotta calm down on the post and stuff. You know, people don't like when we get you know, too political, so we're just gonna avoid that topic altogether, my friend. Okay, did I miss something? What's in the box on your left side? Oh, those are like this is a Grogu. You know, I really like Mandalorian, so I have that one. And I used to play Apex Legends when I had a different life and I didn't have crypto. And so I have some Apex Legends. This is Gibraltar. I have Watson over there, and a few others. So I was just trying to, like, this side of my desk was, or this side of the back was kind of, you know, didn't have anything on it. And it just, I thought I wanted to put something there. Let's see here. Do you think XRP, 1 second, we're at 2,993. We need 7 people to get over the 3,000 mark. Woo, spicy. So Lionel Gray says, do you think when XRP hits all-time highs, it will hold at the new price? So will the new price be stable, I think is what you're asking. I think that's a very difficult question to answer. There's always going to be buying and selling of this asset, right? And large sales or large buys will make that asset go up and down. Will it be stable at like $10,000 or something like that? I don't know, man. I don't think anybody can really tell you. But I have, you know, if you like listen to like David Schwartz and all these people talk, if the price was a lot higher, it would be a little bit more stable. So maybe that'll happen. I think we're all hoping it will. Fabian, what's up, man? Great to see you. Thanks you for being here, my man. Don't say anything. I know. Oh, we did it. We did it. We did it. We freaking did it. It jumped up. It jumped up. Hold on. You want to see it? You want to see it? Here you go. Oh, man. Look at this. Look at this. Boom. 3,007 people live. I can't thank you guys enough. This has been incredible. Incredible. Wow. Fish and chips, sausage sizzle, best in the world. Man, I'm learning from you. I love it. Let's see here. Question. So David has a question. Trying to figure out how many times a day an XRP coin could be used per day. Oh, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. I mean, if you want to get the exact figure, David, we can do that, man. Let's just research that. How I would research this is I would pull up Perplexity. Let me just show you this. So you know, people have different AIs that they like. I like Perplexity. And I would say, how many times can one XRP token be reused for payments? How many times per day can one XRP token be reused for payments? Let's see if we can get a direct answer for you. Here you go. There are 86,400 seconds in a day. If each transaction settles in 3 to 5 seconds, dividing 86,400 by 3 and 5 gives you about 17,280 or 28,800 reuses per day. But practical factors like network congestion, liquidity cycling, and real-world inefficiencies reduce this number. In practice, industry estimates by expert commentary consistently cite 50 reuses per day as a realistic figure for how often XRP token can be cycled through payment flows in the current ecosystem. I hope that helps you better understand it, David. Thank you so much for the question, my friend. What wallet? Hold on. Somebody said, oh my God, it's really cool. It's really cool. We're at 3,000. We are 3,016. So it's just, I mean, it's a very special moment for me, and I'm glad each one of you can be here too for that. What do you think is the best wallet? I mean, I like Ledger. I've liked Ledger since I got into crypto. I felt like they had kind of superior technology. I mean, there's some stuff that comes out about Ledger that, you know, I'm not super excited about, but I still feel their technology is safe. I also use a Zaman wallet. I don't keep too much XRP on my phone though, in case I, you know, lose my phone or somebody, you know, pulls a gun on me or something. You know, I don't want to have a bunch of crypto that, you know, I can transfer to someone in real time. So like I have everything on sticks. It's locked up somewhere very safe. And that's how I roll, you know. Let me know what you use, Stuart. I appreciate you. What's up, G? Noah, what's up, dude? Glad to have you here. Kate says, come to Australia. We'll throw some prawns on the Barbie. Kate, I'm going to take you up on that, Kate. I'm going to take you up on that. First live. What's up, Liam? Glad to have you here, man. Really nice to see you, brother. Really nice to see you. Hey, Sensei, do I have, let's see you at Kanye's for some barbecue prawns? Wait, K's, excuse me. Sensei, I'll see you at K's for some barbecue prawns. Okay, Christina. K's barbecue prawns. Let me see where's this at? K's barbecue. Is that in Florida? You're talking about Florida? Man, you guys are making me hungry. See, I don't eat before I do these live streams because, you know, I'm getting ready for a live stream. I build the stream on the day, you know, because I used to build streams like leading up to the day, and then some of the news changes. And so I get up usually at like 5:30 or 6 in the morning, and I'm on my computer right away. And I build out what I want to talk about. I go through stuff, I research stuff. And usually like today, I've done this live stream. I built this live stream. I've done 5 videos. I've done 5 shorts, and I still think I'm going to record a few videos after this. So there's so much happening. I'm building a course on XRP. So that's going to be, I want that to be just top notch. I want that to have all of the information that I possess in that course. And so we're going to get that out for you guys as soon as we can finish it. Tommy, thank you, man. I think people are just like starting to watch the stream now, which is cool. Yeah, 3,000 is cool, man. 3,000 is a cool number. Like I've never been here before with this, and so it's just impactful, really impactful. I'm sorry, I clicked on this. Do you know if Trump's tax bill that just passed the Senate contains any provisions to make capital gains tax exempt? It does not. Nope, it does not. Yikes. There's a lot of things in that bill that are really bad and toxic. And I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I do know there's a lot of people worried about losing like health insurance and things like that. And I don't know, man. I am in the higher tax bracket, so I will actually save money. But the people that, make, under $250,000 per year are going to pay more in taxes in the US. Like 80% of people will pay more in tax. And then 20% of the higher end people will pay less in tax, which I think is probably backwards. But it's not me out there writing these bills and voting for them. It's the people that we elected. And so, yeah, it's going to be a tough one, man. I think it's gonna be real tough for some people. Not super excited to see what happens from that. Of course, Lionel, you can ask me any question. There's so many questions. I try to address as many things as I can for you, but I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Oh, here's a question of the century. How much XRP do you need to make it? What's your lifestyle? How are your spending habits? I think depending where you live, what you do, like what your hobbies are. Like if you go to the club and you're popping champagne, right? Like you probably need some extra money. You probably need a lot of extra money. But if you live very frugally and, maybe you only need a few $1 million to make it the next 30 years. I don't know. I don't know which lifestyle is, but I think if anything has a real shot in going to some pretty crazy numbers, I don't know why XRP couldn't do something like that. I think when you look at the technology in the top 10 or top 15, when you talk about a bridge asset, or you talk about institutions working with that company, I don't know, man. I think people are going to be real shocked, and I hope so, man, because I've dedicated my life to this, and if we can have some success at the end of this, it will help 100,000 people that watch my YouTube channel, and if I can help out 100,000 people, I feel real good about that. I'll feel real good about that. I don't know anything about Caleb and Brown. Jacques, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. I hope I said your name right. I don't know anything about Caleb and Brown. I couldn't answer from an intelligent level to you. I have heard that they are kind of I don't want to say a pillar. I've heard that their technology is safe, but that's just some things I've heard like through passing on X. I have not like sat down to fully research it, but they do have a good name, at least in the space. I haven't heard of any kind of scams or any issues with Caleb and Brown, but somebody like Lewis Jackson, I think he was being paid by Caleb and Brown to promote them for a while, and then he stopped. I don't know why he did that, but maybe you can ask him. He might have some information. Yeah, dude, ZBIC's on sale right now, right? Yeah, I've been buying ZBIC. So if you guys, if you want to know what I've been buying the last week here, ZBIC, SHX, I've been buying XRP, still buying XRP. I bought some HBAR, ADA, and SUI. Those are the 6 things I bought in the last week. Now, it's not like millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think I put like 500 in HBAR. I put a lot more in XRP. You know, maybe I put $4,000 in SUI, stuff like that. You know, it's nothing like earth shattering stuff, but it's positions that I think are going to do well in the future. And I'm really excited. I've been talking about SUI since it was 70 cents, 60 cents. And I think that could be the next Solana. I think there's a lot of people that believe it's the next Solana. Thanks for the info, man. 50 users per day tell me that the multiplier value will be amazing. Yeah, if you're talking about a multiplier effect for XRP, I think people don't have any clue what's about to happen, man. I really don't. Like, I really want to know what the point is of the multiplier, what it needs to get to be closer to 1-to-1. But like right now, if you brought in like $1 billion, you know, that could have a 100x multiplier. That could be 100 billion, right? That could double the price of XRP in an instant. And I don't think most people don't understand what those are, multiple market multipliers. And I think people, you know, I am trying to educate people on those facts, you know, around Bitcoin and how that went and what the inflows of XRP are right now to market cap change. And if you really start to research that, you're going to be surprised. You're going to be surprised. Oh, I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you. John says, I got a question for you. Rob, does collecting or selling my XRP... Wait, Rob, I got a question for you. Rob, how does collecting or selling my XRP living in Canada? You mean like what is the... Like, I'm sure there's some kind of like tax that you need to pay. I don't know how long you've owned the XRP or what the tax law is in Canada. I would find somebody that you can speak to about that, because I really don't know. You know, I'm not from Canada, live in Canada. And so it's really difficult for me to kind of know what those steps are, but I'm sure like with any exchange, you could go on the exchange that you have your XRP that you're going to move it to sell. And then you could sell it to like US dollars or Canadian dollars, sorry. And put that in your bank account. Like I could pretty much bring anything. Like if I could sell anything on the market right now, I could take it to Coinbase and then I could withdraw on Coinbase right into my bank account, which I do. You know, it's really simple. And I'm sure whatever exchange you're using has something very similar. One Life, Sensei, I gather Ondo, XLM, HBAR, Axelar, $1,000 each, and Quant and Soul. Man, those are some really great choices, man. I wish you all the success. If you're successful, I'm successful. So I love that. 10 years from now, one XRP will get you there. Could you imagine like if one XRP was $10,000? I would freak out. Like, I don't even know what I would do with all that money. I don't know. Like you would go from, you know, just being a regular person, you know, maybe being a regular person, you know, doing regular things, right? To being like a billionaire. Like, what would you do with all the money? I don't know. I'd love to find out. I would love to find out. And I hope we do get to find out. I really do. Steward, can't believe it is the law. Don't know much adopt how to make laws. Big Barney today, our Muppet. I don't know. That sounds very political. We're trying not to talk about that, but I don't think the bill that was passed today is going to do much good. I think it's going to hurt a lot of people, and I don't know, man. It's going to be really sad. I don't agree with it if that's what you're asking me. Just trying to scan here. How much ZBIC did you get this week? I probably put $1,000, $800, something like that. 800-900. I moved like $2,000 or $3,000 to MEXC, and I bought some SHX. That's where I bought SHX and ZBIC. So like I think it's like 800-900. I don't want to log into my account, but I mean I don't have like 10 million ZBIC. I think I have like 1.5 million or 2 million tokens. It's not like earth shattering. It's not earth shattering. Do you think XRP will be 20 or 30 bucks by next July? So this is a difficult question, Joseph, because if you're following the cycle, right? The cycle ends usually towards the end, like the end of this year. If you look at the last cycle in 2021, the high point was like November, right? In December of 2021. And then in 2022, we kind of had, things were, okay, but kind of moving down. And then you had Terra Luna collapse. But the market was already trending downwards to the bear market. So if you believe in 4-year cycles, which that has been the norm, the market should come to a close here, realistically, highs towards the end of the year. And then, I don't know what happens next year. We've never had a place where regulation could be a thing. Banks could be buying crypto. Like all of these things could happen, but we still probably will see cycles until, a point where things really get crazy. I don't know what that's going to look like because there's people that believe the market will be $100 trillion in 5 to 8 years. If that's the case, is that all that money going to come in the bear market, like with stocks and bonds? Is all of that money going to come in on the next cycle? I think that's still to be determined on how that's going to work. But I would just keep a close eye towards the end of the year and what happens with the market. All right. My house for your mom. What? You guys are weird. You guys are so strange. That kind of money isn't even imaginable, life-changing effects it would have on someone, especially someone who's never had easy life. Yeah. I mean, I think, I can relate. I can relate. I didn't come from money. I came from a house where both my parents worked. They divorced when I was younger, and I went back and forth between them. And they both tried to provide a good house, but this wasn't like trust fund situations. So 19, I was not doing great in college, and my dad sat me down. He said, "Hey, listen, son, it's time to either go to work or do this yourself." And so I was, at the time, I was like, "Oh shit, I gotta have to go get a job." And you just start doing it, and you start to hustle. You start to do things better. And I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck, man. That's not fun for anybody. I mean, shoot, in my YouTube channel, like just people, I don't think people realize this, right? I lost money on my YouTube channel it was 2 years and 2 months. I created my YouTube channel in like I think it's been like 2 years and a few months. And cause like you have to pay your editor and the thumbnail person and all of this, right? And my channel made like less than $1,000 for a long time. And only recently has it kind of, exploded in views and people interested in XRP and other crypto stuff. And, for a long time, I was like living off of, my crypto and investments I was making and things like that. And, it's hard, man, when you don't have an income that you can rely on. And, I had to go through a lot of really bad medical things the last, 10 years of my life. I've had multiple surgeries and procedures, and, life's not been easy. And, I'm just thankful where I am now. And looking back on all the shit I've been through, I'm sure it's like with a lot of you, like you've been through hell and the ringer, and you just want something better. And I get that. I think that's what we're all fighting for here. Got a little carried away there. Do apologize. What are your thoughts on price discovery? I think that's, when people wake up and realize that they want this asset, right? Like, I think there's 50 million people that own Bitcoin, but there's only 6 million XRP wallets. And mostly, I mean, how many XRP wallets do you have? I have like 5 ledgers. I have a Zaman wallet. I have a Coinbase account. I have, you know, MEXC, like I have 8 or 9 wallets, right? One person. So how many people really own XRP? 1 million? 2 million? I don't know. It's really hard to get an exact number because people have multiple wallets. Now, what happens when all of the people that own Bitcoin wake up and they say, hey, shit, I just made a killing on Bitcoin. What else can I buy? Oh, XRP, they're working with, you know, Ripple's working with American Express and Santander and Bank of America. And, you know, you start to name all of these banks and you're like, there's no way, right? There's no way that they have all of these connections. There's no way that, you know, they're building the interoperability between traditional finance and DeFi. And then you start to like research it and better understand it. You're like, wow, they do all of these things. And what kind of impact is that going to have on the rest of this? How big will this be? How will this affect you? I think these are all good questions that we need to figure out. When will price discovery happen, man? I wish I could say like next month or 6 weeks from now. But the truth is, you know, once you get regulation and banks start offering crypto to people, I think that will be a big turning point. That'll be a big turning point. Because imagine you getting paid and then your bank sending you an email saying, hey, you just got paid. You want to buy some Bitcoin or you want to buy some XRP? That's what's going to happen, right? You just got paid. You want to put 5% into, you know, anything. I don't know. That'd be interesting. SHX on Stellar. Do you get your SHX on Ethereum or Stellar? I buy it from MEXC. So I don't know which chain it's on, but I believe Stellar, you know, it's on the Stellar chain, right? SHX. Did they bridge to Ethereum? That would make sense. I don't know which version it is though. I guess I could look. I just haven't removed it off of MEXC. I probably should do that. 10K, you'd be a billionaire, multiple billionaire. Shit, Curtis. Curtis has taken everybody to dinner in Dubai. All right. First class tickets. Curtis got you. It would be really cool, wouldn't it, Curtis? It would be really cool, man. Wow. 3,141. Just what an incredible day, man. Yeah, I appreciate you. I think if people like really found out like what I went through, like in my younger 30s, I think a lot of people would be shocked, you know, that I'm still here. And, you know, sometimes I'm shocked I'm still here, but, you know, I think we all go through some kind of challenges in our lives, whether they're financial or health challenges or relationship challenges. And, life is confusing and it's hard. Right. And you're constantly making decisions that affect your life. And there's all of this change. And, you know, it might not, what is it? Like Ted Lasso said, it's going to work out. It might not work out how you want it to work out, but it'll work out. It's kind of like that, man. You just got to go with it and try to make the best of it. Life has been a journey for many. Yes, sir. But along the way, we learn, we grow, become more informed. And in the end, we're going to shine like the sun. Wow, that is good. That is good, D-Rud. Man, let me go ahead and I'm going to take a picture of this one. I like that, man. That is fantastic. Appreciate you, Mike. You not only one crypto sensei. There is a few of us, I think. There's somebody else that has the name. There's someone else that has the name. Listen, I know that a lot of you, there's 2,800 people watching on X. If you are interested in XRP and crypto content, please come over to YouTube and follow my channel. Only follow my channel though if you really like my channel. Like I don't want I don't want subscribers that don't watch just because like it doesn't really matter what the number is. I really am interested in helping people that are interested in helping themselves and people that want to learn. So if I can, help you in any way, shape, or form, please, I will leave in the comment here my channel if you're interested. Love to be a part of that. If you're in America, use Jake's Digital Wealth Partners. Yeah, Jake has a lot of good connections, guys. He definitely has good connections. Man, it would be incredible to have a big party, man. I would really love that. I would really love that. Well, let me do this, guys. Listen, it's been 2 hours, 30 minutes. I've been going nonstop for the last, 10, 11 hours. I appreciate your love. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you being here and your questions and your time. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate Ariana and Curtis and LEX and everybody that's keeping the chat safe. Thank you for your time, really. And if I can do anything, help you in any way, please reach out to me. I will answer your emails. I will answer your texts. I will answer everything I can to try to help you. All right. Thank you for all your support. I'll see you guys. Aloha.